One day, a strange phenomenon swept across the world. Humanity began to awaken the innate ability to control the chemical elements. An individual's power was determined by their percentage of elemental control. And the hero of our story is a young man named Gaonong. Through his diligent engagement and observation, he successfully activated the ultimate mission system. From the very beginning, the system bestowed upon him an SSS-Rank talent. SSS, granting him mastery over all elements and making him the very first person to possess this power. Mastery over every element on this planet. Without further ado, let's dive right in. And with that, my part of the tale is told. The storyteller has finished his task. We hope you all have an exciting time. One morning, at the Forsaken Lands Senior High School No. 3, a passionate speech was underway. More specifically, it was being held right in front of an old water polo court on the school grounds. The speaker's voice boomed, clear and strong. 100 years after the cataclysm, an unprecedented new industry arose. The individuals in this industry hold the power to control elemental energy. The speaker was a stern-faced, middle-aged man. His name was Qin Tianxiong, a lieutenant of the Alliance. His gaze swept over the crowd of listeners below. His thick brows furrowed as he began to whisper. Copper, aluminum, silicon, nitrogen, potassium, sodium, calcium, hydrogen, cobalt, carbon, and so on, and so on, and so on. Then, from out of nowhere, he produced a jet-black stone, holding it up for all to see as he introduced himself. My power is iron extraction, with a mastery of 57%. Having introduced his ability, Qin Tianxiong smirked, a grin that revealed a set of sharp canines as he theatrically roared. Iron element extraction. Countless streams of black and purple energy, like ribbons of silk, suddenly materialized, spreading out at an astonishing speed. The ribbons quickly coiled around Qin Tianxiong's arm, while the stone in his hand began to fade, its color draining with the diffusion. Qin Tianxiong waited until the density of the energy ribbons reached a certain threshold. Then, he tilted his hand, letting the stone fall as he began his lecture. Elemental extraction isn't just for drawing out energy. As the stone hit the ground beside his foot, it was still emitting thin wisps of smoke. Tiny iron filings rained down from Qin Tianxiong's hand. So that's what the colorful ribbons were made of, iron dust. Instantly, Qin Tianxiong lowered his center of gravity. His arm still held out straight, his hand clenched into a tight fist. As he continued his explanation, its true practical application is in combat. Almost simultaneously, two accompanying officers brought out a thick metal plate. He let out a sharp cry to channel his power. Shatter. With that, he threw a punch, his fist, now encased in iron filings, piercing straight through the thick metal plate. But that wasn't all. Under Qin Tianxiong's control, the mass of iron filings exploded into a giant spiked ball that burst from the other side of the metal plate. The moment the punch landed, the two officers had already leaped back to safety. Everyone was stunned by the impressive display. The high school students of the Forsaken Lands could only stare, utterly speechless. Their mouths hung open in awe, eyes filled with pure admiration. Incredible. Something they had only ever read about in textbooks was now happening right before their very eyes. It was a mind-blowing sight. Even our protagonist, Gao Nung, the one who stands out from the monochrome crowd, was just as stunned. But before the shock could even subside, a voice with all the charm of a high-end pyramid scheme pitch rang in his ear. Do you want to become strong? He was caught between shock and a total existential crisis. Gaoning's hand shot to the back of his neck, a reflex as he tried to pinpoint the source of the voice. It's back. It's been doing this for 7 days straight. He still couldn't figure out where the voice was coming from. It just flashes into existence, says one thing, and then goes completely silent. No coughing, not even the slightest sound. It terrified him to no end. His teeth began to chatter. As he asked himself, am I going crazy? Just as he decided he needed to see a doctor, the voice echoed in his head again, repeating the exact same question. Do you wish to possess the greatest power in this world? The voice, whispering incessantly in his ear, was driving him mad. Gao Nung tilted his head to the sky and roared. Oh yeah, if I say yes, are you just going to give it to me? I'll talk. He thought for sure the bizarre voice would finally disappear this time. But instead, a familiar blue screen materialized, displaying an icon of 2 eyes and a battery. It looked just like a computer screen. After a few beeps, the screen suddenly vanished, leaving behind only a battery, crackling with tiny sparks of electricity that zapped Gaoneng. After a moment of booting up, a mechanical voice sounded out. Host has chosen to accept the trial. System initializing. Assigning mission. By the time Gaoneng snapped out of it, he found himself surrounded by a blue screen. His eyes were glued to the screen, unblinking and full of curiosity. He asked aloud, "What is this?" On the sleek, sophisticated digital display, only one thing was shown. A name. Sheninger. Gaoneng stared blankly. He had no idea what the system was getting at and wondered, "What is this?" Sheninger? The system completely ignored Gaoneng's baffled expression. It simply continued its mechanical, pre-programmed announcement. Sheninger found. Sheninger. A million questions raced through Gaoneng's mind. In short, he was completely stunned. His mind was a chaotic jumble of thoughts. Who is this person? I don't know anyone named Sheninger. Can anyone else see this thing? Online. Just as he felt his mind was about to short-circuit, the young woman named by the system appeared, dressed in an Alliance military uniform, and began to speak. "Hello, everyone. My name is Shening." Every student in the school, Gaoneng included, turned their eyes toward her. As the young woman stepped onto the stage, Tian Xiong casually slung an arm over her shoulder. He flashed a smile, equal parts arrogant and sly, as he made the introduction. "This is Soldier Shun. You're all in for a real treat today. She's here to give you a demonstration of elemental materialization." Sheninger's expression was dead serious. She paid no mind to his blustering. She cut straight to the point. "We can begin now." Gaoneng stared at the stage in astonishment. He was completely captivated. Tian Xiong added with a sly grin, "The demonstration will begin momentarily." However, he didn't forget to add one last little detail. "She's the same age as all of you." He was completely floored. His eyes were glued to Sheninger, while his mind screamed, "She's real. This person actually exists." The moment that detail was announced, a wave of gasps and excited shouts swept through the students. "I heard that anyone who can perform elemental materialization is one of the Alliance's top geniuses. We're actually going to see it with our own eyes. This is going to be incredible. We can't even manage elemental extraction, and she's our age and can already materialize them." Sheninger paid no attention to the chorus of praise and envy around her. Her eyes were fixed on the stone Tian Xiong had used just moments ago. Sensing the residual energy inside, she frowned, putting on an authoritative air. Tian Xiong barked an order at his subordinate. "What are you waiting for? Get a new one for Miss Shun." He was demanding they bring out a different but Ewer just smiled gently and declined. "No, that's all right. The Alliance doesn't have many resources to spare. I'll just use this one." Ewer simply pointed her palm toward the stone on the ground, and instantly, a stream of greenish-black energy erupted violently. The stream then began to swirl, centering around a core of blue energy. It spun fiercely, just like a small vortex. This display was even more spectacular than Tian Xiong's. A cold sweat broke out on our protagonist's back. He muttered in astonishment, extracting from thin air, and from a piece of discarded, or no less, one that's already been extracted from. She began to explain. The first step of elemental manifestation allows you to extract energy and solidify the element's form. In an instant, the small vortex was molded into a soft ribbon of silk. Next, use your will to imagine the element's shape. And then, in the blink of an eye, it had completely transformed into a lifelike dragon, detailed in every line. Its crimson eyes radiated a terrifying pressure. You will reach your hand forward. The dragon coiled and shot forward like a storm. As it flew over the students' heads, they all looked up, their eyes filled with pure admiration. Elemental manifestation. It's really elemental manifestation. Even Gaoneng was captivated by its beauty. So strong. Once the dragon had flown around enough, she casually tossed a metal plate toward it with one hand, using her other hand to brace herself on the ground for balance. The dragon opened its maw and chomped down on the metal shield and the surrounding iron dust. Its teeth scraped, against the metal, sending out sparks as beautiful as fireworks. Finally, after just 2 bites, it devoured the shield whole, leaving the onlookers below in utter shock. It ate it. Debris from the hasty meal rained down on the students. But luckily, they all managed to dodge in time. Meanwhile, Gao Ning focused his full attention on the heat signatures along the metal dragon's long body, analyzing it. The impurities in the iron were purged in an instant. When it was all over, the dragon flew back toward Yuer. She smiled gently and patted its head. After a moment of observation, he reached his conclusion. This dragon is essentially a high-temperature, molten iron furnace. The students on the field, some were having a mental breakdown, while others cheered excitedly. My eyes are playing tricks on me. I can't believe I just saw a dragon take form. One student, who had been standing there stunned, suddenly spoke up, snapping everyone out of it. Get a grip. That was an energy manifestation. The school grounds were now as chaotic as a crowded market. A middle-aged man stepped forward. He cleared his throat a few times and said, "Excellent. Soldier Shun has truly opened our eyes today." He smiled so wide his eyes disappeared. With the face of a typical villain, he began to serve up some motivational hype. He rallied the crowd. I believe that everyone here today yearns to possess great power. But becoming an energy warrior isn't something that happens overnight. If you want to become a master like Soldier Shun, you must be prepared to work 100 times harder. Prepare for the college entrance exams. And yet, the high school students responded with incredible enthusiasm. His speech had successfully riled them all up. They began chanting slogans to boost their academic spirit. Give it our all for the college entrance exams. Become energy warriors. We will achieve elemental manifestation. We'll dedicate our lives to the Alliance. Don't try to stop me. I'm going to ace the exam this year and get into the best military academy. He went along with the mood, raising his hand to the sky, his face still fixed in that perfect smile. He boomed out the slogan he had prepared in advance. Our number 3 senior high school will definitely make it into the top 10 this year. At that same moment, the system screen appeared once again. Gao Ning smirked. He gave a knowing smile. That brilliant glow made it clear that the system was about to pull him in. With a ding, it began to assign the mission. New host, prove your strength. Sacrifice Sheninger. Use flame and fresh blood to ignite the host's vibrant youth and illuminate the dark path that lies ahead. Gao Ning stared, dumbfounded. His mind was filled with giant question marks. Sacrifice? What the hell is a sacrifice? By the time his brain finally finished processing the mission, he was so furious his eyes were practically bulging. Gao Ning practically screamed, "Are you screwing with me?" Meanwhile, Sheninger was still focused on demonstrating her abilities, completely unaware that she was being targeted by some bizarre system. The system analyzed Sheninger's strategy, while simultaneously giving instructions to Gao Ning. Midnight is the most opportune time to perform the sacrificial ritual. The sacrifice requires both fresh blood and fire. A sacrificial circle must be drawn on the target. Upon completion, shout the slogan aloud. A passionate age, a youth of bloodshed. Forceful methods are permitted. After reading this outrageous mission, Gao Ning desperately wanted to give the system a piece of his mind. Are you trying to get me killed? Even the heavens seemed to cry for him, as rain began to fall in sympathy for his misfortune. Fortunately for him, the system hadn't set a specific deadline. Otherwise, he would have been completely screwed. As the rain started to fall, the surrounding students began to scatter. It's raining. Let's hurry and go. Thunder. Hurry home and get the laundry. Only Gao Ning remained, his heart as cold as dead ashes. He looked like a man on death row, waiting to be led to his execution. As he stood there, lost in his thoughts, a teacher called out to him, "Gao Ning, could you come here a minute?" Hearing the voice, Gao Ning blurted out, "Mr. Zhang." Mr. Zhang pressed a coin into his hand, speaking in that familiar, favor-asking tone. "I have a favor to ask you. I have to go out for drinks with Lieutenant Qin and his guys later, for this afternoon's class with Class 13. Could you cover for me?" The moment he saw the coin, Gao Ning instantly perked up. His spirits lifted tenfold. He immediately gave his assurance. "Don't worry, Mr. Zhang." Pocketing the coin, he casually ran to catch up with his friends, calling back over his shoulder, "You can count on me." The moment Gao Ning was out of sight, Mr. Zhang's casual demeanor vanished. His expression turned pensive. He was lost in deep thought. A kid who listens, is sensible, and gets good grades. You don't find many like him. His family is struggling too. I should help him out however I can. Brimming with new motivation, Gao Nung headed for the classroom, completely unaware of his teacher's inner thoughts. Later, he went to the faculty office to pick up a stack of materials. The teachers there, already used to this, showered him with praise. Gao Ning is covering for Mr. Zhang again. What a great kid, that Gao Nung. He's at the top of his class and still so willing to help out. Gao Nung skillfully played the part of the model student, the academic ace always ready to lend a hand, and replied, "Thank you for the praise, everyone." Then, he carried the stack of materials to class 13. When the underclassmen in the class saw him, they started buzzing with excitement. Class 13. It's Senior Gao Nung. He's so handsome. Yes. I can't believe Senior Gao Nung is our sub today. They didn't even tell us. And I didn't even wear any makeup today. Gao Nung put the stack of papers on the teacher's desk, his expression turning serious as he gave an order. Where's the class president? Pass these out. A girl in the class looked up at him, her eyes sparkling, and asked in a sweet voice, "Senior Gao Nung, you never finished that story from last time. Can you tell us the rest?" Playing the part of a strict teacher, Gao Nung bluntly refused. "No. First period this afternoon is a test. We'll be testing on chapters 1 through 5. Another girl immediately stood up and asked, "Senior Gao Nung, we have a test first period. How about you just tell us a story for second period?" Gao Nung did not accept her proposal. He just gave the girl's forehead a light, perfunctory tap and said, "Not a chance. What are you talking about? You're all about to be juniors. You need to study hard. You have to try and get into a military academy, right?" Then, he followed up with more bad news. "We're having another test second period." A boy in the class let out a groan. "Oh man, Senior Gao Nung, you're a monster." Meanwhile, the girl whose forehead he just tapped was completely starstruck. She sighed dreamily. "That's our Senior Gao Nung for you. He's so charming, even when he's lecturing us. Senior Gao Nung, where are you going?" Gao Nung held up an ancient-looking brick phone and answered vaguely. "Phone's dead. Going to charge it. Class president, you're in charge of proctoring." The purple-haired girl, a devoted fan of Gao Ning's, immediately agreed to his every word, promising, "Yes, sir. Don't worry, Senior Gao Nung." And just like that, Gao Nung brazenly skipped class. He walked down a worn, muddy path. He couldn't help but think, "This road seems to get worse every time I walk it." Just then, he heard a voice call out, "Gao Nung." He jumped, thinking to himself, "Oh crap, busted for skipping." He whipped his head around and cried out in surprise, "Mom, what are you doing here?" This gentle woman, glowing with a mother's warmth, was Gao Ning's mother, Zilan. She smiled kindly and said, "Auntie Lu is moving. I came over to help out." She was still holding a mop, proof that she wasn't making it up. She leaned against the mop handle and gently asked, "Shouldn't you be in class right now? Why are you out here?" Seeing her son remain silent, she didn't press him, simply smiling as she said, "Never mind. You're grown now. You have your own plans for things. No matter what, I'll always support you." With that, she went back to her unfinished work, adding a reminder, "Come home early when you're done. Auntie Lu gave us 2 eggs and a piece of meat. I'll make you something special for dinner tonight." Gao Nung quickly replied, "Okay." Just as he finished, a clear voice called out, "Mrs. Gao, the bathroom still needs to be cleaned." Zilan turned her head and answered, "Coming." Before leaving, she reminded him again with affection, "I'm heading back to work now. Take care of yourself, and come home soon." Knowing his mother was worried about him, Gao Nung obediently agreed. "I know, Mom. Don't worry." Auntie Lu stepped out. Seeing him, she warmly called out, "Oh, Gao Ning, you're here. Want to come in and sit for a bit? Your mom will be done in a little while. Don't you worry." He waved back and replied politely, "Thanks, Auntie Lu." Every time she saw him, Auntie Lu couldn't help but let out a heavy sigh. Such a good kid. Handsome, sensible, and so polite. It's a shame he was born in the Forsaken Land. This godforsaken place has ruined so many children. Hearing those words, Gao Nung fell silent in thought. Even though Aunt Lu's words were harsh, they were the undeniable truth. He walked through the rain for a while before finally folding his umbrella. Finding a deserted spot, he muttered to himself, finally letting out his frustrations. Those of us born in these forsaken lands can never compare to the people from the capital of hope, he thought. I can't change the way things are with my own strength. He looked up at the gray sky above. Gao Ning's will grew even stronger. He promised himself, but even if I was born in the Forsaken Lands, I will find a way to become stronger. Only by getting stronger can I give my mom a better life. Just as the scene was reaching a touching, dramatic peak, the system's voice suddenly cut in, scaring the already faint-hearted Gao Nung half to death. You really have a cursed fate. A line of text appeared on the system screen, detecting host's intense belief and thirst for power. Time-based regulations will be modified. Time remaining to acquire sacrificial targets, 9 hours and 27 minutes. And just like that, his bad luck got even worse. He asked aloud, "What happens if I fail the mission?" Hearing this, the system responded with a few decisive but innocent-sounding beeps. Gao Nung commented with suspicion, "I have a feeling you're just putting on an act, but I have no proof." In any case, Gao Nung was already in the Forsaken Lands. He had nothing left to lose. Gritting his teeth, he made up his mind. "All right, I've decided. Time to go for broke." Gao Nung shouted with heroic spirit. "It's better than being stuck in this damn place forever. You gotta fight. Even a bicycle can become a motorcycle." But for all his soaring spirit, there was no one around to hear him. The system displayed its standard procedure. Host has accepted the mission. Now, select a difficulty. Seeing that the system wasn't just throwing him into hell mode, Gao Nung exclaimed in surprise, "I can choose the difficulty?" The system switched to its instruction mode. Upon mission completion, host will receive the ultimate power cleansing. Difficulty level will determine additional rewards. His eyes were glued to the 100% on the screen. He mumbled in a daze. "So that's how it is. Let's see what the options are." The system pinged and began presenting the difficulty levels. Normal. Complete 2 missions. 50% chance to obtain a primary grade Yang treasure. 1% chance to obtain a special power. Next were the 2 highest difficulty levels. The system even used a different emoji to illustrate each one. Elite. Complete 1 mission. 100% chance to obtain a first grade Yang treasure. Chance to obtain a special power. Nightmare. For the naturally gifted. I am this world's chosen one. No need to overthink it. If you want it, take it. 100% chance to obtain a mid-grade Yang treasure. 100% chance to obtain a special power. Even though the benefits sounded incredibly tempting, Gao Nung didn't rush his decision. He didn't choose immediately, carefully weighing his options. And even though the rewards for nightmare difficulty were making him drool, he told himself, "Let's see, which one's the best choice? Normal difficulty? But I, Gao Nung, am anything but normal." Without any more hesitation, he turned his gaze to the nightmare difficulty screen for a closer look. A much closer look. He thought, nightmare difficulty, a 100% chance for a mid-grade Yang treasure, and a 100% chance for a special power. Aren't these perfect rewards practically tailor-made for me? However, at the very moment of decision, he managed to stop himself. Reason won out over greed, and he made his choice. But I'll go with the elite difficulty. He then selected it without a moment's hesitation. Immediately after, all the options vanished, startling him. In their place was a swift system notification. As the host has selected the elite difficulty, upon mission completion, there is a 100% chance of receiving a top-tier Yang treasure. There is a 50% chance of receiving a special ability. Even though he wasn't completely satisfied with those terms, he looked away and tried to console himself. Whatever. Let's see the hint. Crucial mission. Hearing the command, the system began to display the hint. Shin Ninger is a genius. But becoming a genius came at a steep price. Shin Ninger began her training at a young age, reaching an intermediate level. She never had a happy childhood. Finally, one day, she couldn't take it anymore and ran away from home. Along with the narration, an image of a young Xiang'er appeared, sobbing with tears streaming down her face. The system's narration continued. That day, she spent the entire night in a filthy sewer drain. That night, her ears were filled with the sound of squeaking. Gao Nung looked puzzled. Squeaking? Based on the information provided by the system, Gao Nung began to analyze the situation. Squeaking. Could it be rats? To think the mighty Shin Ninger is actually afraid of rats. Believing he had found his opponent's weakness, a sly grin spread across his face as he began to plot. However, one rat won't be enough. I need to find 100 of them. Gao Ning's villainous expression was so intense that even a few passing old folks with poor eyesight had to whisper amongst themselves. What's with that kid? Looks like he's plotting something terrible. Gao Ning seemed to be in his own world, lost in delusions of grandeur. On the outside, he was smiling like a smitten villain, but on the inside, his mind was racing with schemes. If that doesn't work, I'll just find the single biggest rat there is. Number 1. The absolute scariest. Yeah, that's what I'll do. I'm going to catch all the fiercest, most terrifying rats in this entire forsaken land. The next morning, at a skyscraper known as the Golden Hotel. The structure certainly lived up to its name. The entire building was coated in a layer of bronze gold paint. Inside one of the rooms, the sound of training rang out. It was Shen Ninger. She had been relentlessly punching a heavy bag since the crack of dawn, honing her skills. As she was deep in her training, a knock came from the door. Ninger paused and called out, "Lieutenant Sheen? What is it?" Tian Xiong stood at attention. He reported in a serious, formal tone. "Reporting, Major Shun. We switched your room just a little while ago. And, just as you predicted, it was immediately stuffed with love letters." He respectfully presented a stack of handwritten letters, not forgetting to mock the people who sent them. "These are the letters that were just sent to you. TCH, these kids really don't know their own limits." Ninger asked with a hint of doubt, "Is this all there is this time?" Hearing that, Tian Xiong's mouth twitched. His face darkened as he mumbled his report. "Major, you seriously underestimate the hormones of these young brats. The entire floor above us is already packed full. I went to the restroom, and there wasn't even any room to stand." Ninger paid no mind to such trivial matters. She wiped the sweat from her brow as she gave the order. "Just find someone to deal with them." He immediately snapped into a military salute and shouted, "Yes, ma'am." Before leaving, Tian Xiong held out one last letter. "Major, there is, however, one letter that I think you'll want to see." Tian Xiong seemed to be enjoying this a little too much. He spoke with a look of pure delight. "The one who wrote this letter is the son of a real big shot. Tangda, over here. He's waiting at the hotel entrance. Take a look." The young woman's face darkened. She narrowed her eyes and spoke. "So he's trying to—" Tian Xiong gave a knowing smile and tried his best to persuade her. It seemed he was trying to play matchmaker. The powers in this forsaken land are in total chaos. In recent years, our relationship with Hope Capital has become increasingly hostile. All of our military's undercover agents have been assassinated. If we could use Tangda to get some inside intelligence, it could be a huge help to us. Major Shun, why don't you just meet with him?" But before he could finish his rambling sales pitch, she tossed a USB drive at him. Confused, Tian Xiong looked at the object that had landed in his palm, wondering, "What's this?" Yu cracked her knuckles. Her cold expression was a clear warning. "That's the internal intel on several major powers in the Forsaken Land. Look it over, then figure out your next move." A sense of unease began to creep over Tian Xiong. He thought, internal intel? Realizing he'd be toast if he screwed this up, he beat a hasty retreat. "I'll go take a look right now. Sorry to have bothered you." Yu adjusted her punching bag. Her expression was dead serious. She mused to herself, a mere lieutenant, daring to suggest a major use a honey trap. This forsaken land. Then she suddenly spun around, unleashing a devastating punch. There's really never a moment's peace. In an instant, the punching bag met a heroic end. In return, Yu felt a rush of exhilaration. She felt better. With her equilibrium restored, she was done. She stood smugly before a full-length mirror, admiring herself. "Hey, Vixen, you are gorgeous." The night had turned bone-chillingly cold. Any fool left standing outside would freeze to death. Asi felt like his soul was about to leave his body. He was shivering uncontrollably. His voice trembled as he spoke. "Young Master Tang, we've been waiting for 6-7 hours. Shin Yu isn't coming out." Though his legs were shaking from the cold, Yuan Hui tried to act tough. "Duh, of course she's not coming out." The dark-haired young man looked confused. "Then why are we still waiting?" Yuan Hui dismissed the question. He scoffed and proclaimed, "What do you know? The colder a woman acts, the harder it is for her to turn down. A man as handsome, refined, and thoughtful as myself. A rainy night like this especially highlights this young master's unique charm." Asi, completely missing the point, loudly dragged him back to reality. But it stopped raining. Yuan Hui immediately corrected himself. It's the thought that counts. Seeing his master's determination, Asi stopped questioning and started sucking up. He laid the praise on thick. Young Master Tang, your poetic soul. With eloquence like that, you could get into any university in Hope Capital. No problem. One might think Yuan Hui was just some rich fool, but in reality, he was a master of unfathomable schemes. He smirked. University? Getting into any school I want will be a piece of cake. Oh no, actually this guy was just an idiotic show-off. He couldn't keep his mouth shut, blabbing his entire plan right at the hotel entrance. He continued, there's just one final step left. Get an access card for this hotel. Get into her room and personally present this gift to her. Asi, his follower. He's a pretty practical guy. The moment he heard that, he was ready to back out. Going into Shin Yuer's room? That's a suicide mission. But Yuan Hui was still trying to act tough. He had no clue what the situation really was. You can't catch a tiger cub without entering the tiger's den. What do you know? As Asi was listening to the lecture, he suddenly screamed as if he'd seen a ghost. Boss Tang. Look, who's that? He immediately recognized the figure. With his uniquely bizarre way of thinking, he came to a conclusion. I think that's Gao Nong. Carrying a huge pack and all. Is he here to bribe Lieutenant Sheen? However, Gao Nong paid no attention to the comedic duo and walked right past them. Asi's face twisted as he watched, and he turned to the man beside him. Boss Tang, I don't think Gao Nong saw us. There was no way Yuan Hui would accept being ignored like that. He immediately called out to stop him. Gao Nong, wait up. Hearing the voice, Gao Ning turned to look and asked, oh, you're here too? Then he forced a smile and said, my bad. You weren't really standing out back there. I didn't mean to just walk by without saying hi. That one sentence was enough to make the guy spit blood with rage. But as furious as he was, he needed a favor. So Yuan Hui forced himself to stay calm. He cleared his throat a few times and made his proposal. Let's get down to business. I've got a job that can make you rich overnight. You in? Hearing that, Gao Ning finally showed a flicker of interest. He struck a thoughtful pose and muttered, rich overnight, and then he agreed in a heartbeat. Well, of course, money was the one thing that always worked on him. I'm in, definitely in. Seeing this shameless display of greed, Yuan Hui, who had been about to launch into a persuasive speech, completely lost his steam. Instead, he said, could you at least try to be a little subtle? This is completely unprofessional. When it came to money, there was nothing he wouldn't consider. All right, my bad. Let me try that again. The man sighed and said, forget it. Just forget it. Let's just get to the point. The young man named Tang nearly collapsed from laughter. Give me an internal access card for this hotel. Once the job's done, I'll give you 50 Federation coins. How about it? Gao Ning thought for a moment. An internal access card. If I get caught, I'll be treated like a common thief. Seeing that his hesitation seemed reasonable, Yuan Hui immediately upped the offer. 100 coins. And that's my final offer. Gao Ning's spirits soared, and he quickly sealed the deal. He held out his hand and said, deposit. Hearing this, the young man named Tang sneered. You need a deposit too? But since he desperately needed the help, he handed over the money, not forgetting to add a warning. Here, take it. Now that I've paid you, you better get the job done. Gao Ning cheered happily. Thanks. Then he skipped gleefully toward the Golden Hotel. Seeing how easily he made a quick buck, Asi decided to try his luck, dropping to his knees to beg. Brother Tang, stealing access cards is my specialty. Give me 100 Federation coins, and I'll go. Hearing this, the young man named Tang's blood boiled. He laid into the black-haired lackey. Idiot, do you really think I need someone to steal a key card? I'm sending him, so that if something goes wrong, the suspicion won't fall on me. A perfect patsy like this is too good to waste. That comment hit the kneeling, black-haired young man like a stray bullet. He instantly retracted his plea and started laying on the flattery. What a brilliant move. However, that guy's carrying a bag big enough to be a thief. He watched his retreating figure and smiled. Gleefully. Don't say that. He really does look like one. While the two of them were whispering, he had already entered the main lobby of the Golden Hotel. Gao Nung politely asked the female receptionist, Miss, excuse me, do you have any hourly rooms available? The receptionist checked for a moment, then replied, Hourly rooms. We're all out. She looked up, about to offer another suggestion, but then She was completely captivated by Gao Ning's handsome face. The receptionist seemed to gain a new birth. All her professional principles were thrown out the window. She shot up from her seat and exclaimed, "We do, we do, we do. All our rooms are available by the hour." She started to make conversation. "Hey there, sweetie. Is it just you staying in the room?" Gao Ning gave a forced smile and replied, "That's right." The receptionist giggled and said intimately, "How adorable. You're here for a chance encounter with Shinware too, aren't you? Let me tell you something. She's on the 8th floor. Room 808. Gao Ning quickly cut in. "No, that's not it. You've misunderstood. Actually, I'm here for a chance encounter with Lieutenant Qinji." As soon as the receptionist broke out in goosebumps. "A chance encounter with Lieutenant Qin?" He clenched his fist and replied earnestly, "That's right. I can't let anyone know I'm here to be a sacrifice. I can't let anyone know I'm here to be a sacrifice for Shunware." The receptionist, horrified for a moment, quickly composed herself and said with a smile, "Kiddo, you're quite the joker, but since you're so ambitious, how can I not help you? Lieutenant Qin is on the 7th floor, room 708. So, I'll rent you the room right next door, 707. Here you go. Your room key, of course. Handsome guys get special treatment wherever they go." After getting the room key, he immediately turned to leave. "Thanks a lot. You've been a great help." The main character's luck with women is truly off the charts. In just a few short minutes, he'd turned the receptionist into a smitten admirer. She stared dazedly at his retreating back and smiled. "I've never seen such a handsome young man before. The more I look, the more I like him." Looking at the room key in his hand, Gao Nung let out a sigh. He muttered regretfully, and just like that, 40 alliance coins gone. So damn expensive. If I'd known, I would have just waited in the lobby for a few hours. Currently, Qin Tianxiong was heading to Shunyuer's room, 808. Meanwhile, Shunyuer was entering Qin Tianxiong's room, 708. And Gao Nung had rented room 707 right next door. It's unclear how all this is going to play out. This should be interesting. A little while later, Gao Nung was soaking in the tub in room 707. Well, he thought, since I'm here, I might as well enjoy myself. I did spend 40 alliance coins, after all. If I don't make the most of it, it'd be a total waste of money. After soaking until 9:22, he emerged with a profound expression on his face. Wei Wei silently scoffed. It's so obvious he's here for Shunyuer, but he claims he's here to see Lieutenant Qin. This little devil sees right through his act. Gao Ning gripped the edge of the bathtub, a faint smile on his lips, and whispered, "It's so obvious you just want to use me. Only a fool would believe a word you say, Tang Yuan. But since you already gave me the money, I didn't dare refuse." Those two idiots were actually naive enough to wait in the freezing wind for a whole hour before they caught on. Yuan Hui was so furious he could practically explode. He ground his teeth and swore a vicious oath. "That damn Gao Nung. How dare you trick this young master? Tomorrow, I'll make you pay." After that, he became a ruthless corporate tyrant, roaring an order at his subordinate. "Get in there. Bring me the master key card." Hearing this, C was scared witless. "And me? You want me to go?" But then he remembered the payment, and his courage returned. He sidled up to Yuan Hui, held out his hand, and said, "The fee. So if I manage to steal the master key card, I still get 100 union credits, right?" But Yuan Hui wasn't that stupid. He glared. Besides, every word out of his mouth was a critical hit on C. First, he attacked his looks. "You want money too? Are you as handsome as Gao Nung?" That one sentence took out half of C's health bar. But attacking his appearance wasn't enough. He then went after his intelligence. "Your grades, are they as good as Gao Ning's? Looks? You don't have M. Talent? You don't have that either." It was a devastating critical hit. C was left with just 1 HP. After that, he landed a vicious kick on C. "What gives you the right to negotiate with me? Huh? If you don't get that key card, this young master will break your legs." The guy just had the worst luck. Not only did he not get paid, he got beaten up and insulted. 10 minutes later, after going through hell and back, C finally got the key card for the Golden Hotel. Yuan Hui looked quite pleased. He casually made a promise. "Not bad. I'll buy you new clothes tomorrow." C bowed a perfect 90 degrees and shouted, "Thank you, young Master Yuan." Before entering the hotel, he adjusted his clothes and solemnly told himself, the moment has finally arrived. Then, he even smoothed back his hair. Gazing at his reflection, he said, "Today is the most important moment of my life. As it turns out, when you're in love, everyone sees the world through their own special filter." In his eyes, Ewer was nothing less than an innocent, sweet girl. "I'm in love," he thought. "I'm in love. From the very first moment I saw her. I've been drowning in a river of love." Lost in his fantasy, Yuan Hui stood before room 808 and gave himself a pep talk. "For love, I'd brave a mountain of swords and a sea of flames." A youth should have no regrets. He took a deep breath to compose himself, then swiped the card, thinking, "My dearest maiden, I'm here for you. Well then, we wish our comrade the best of luck." As soon as Yuan Hui stepped into the room, the first thing that hit his eyes was a space drenched in the color pink, with the faint silhouette of a person in the bathroom. This romantic atmosphere practically exploded in his mind. He was stunned. This is... Immediately after, he started grinning like a fool. His face turned as red as a monkey's, but tears, snot, and even drool started streaming down his face. With a heart filled with love and hope, he cheered inwardly. This must be a sign from heaven. There's no way I can fail." He couldn't tear his eyes away from the bathroom until the person inside reached for the doorknob. His heart pounded with anticipation. He was hiding by the door, looking like a total pervert and thinking to himself, "She's here. She's finally here." Yuan Hui gazed at that tall figure, covered in rippling muscles. He admired it with a shy expression. Such a graceful body. Even the author is speechless. You'd have to be blind not to see something was wrong. He smoothed back his brown hair, his face a monument to limitless narcissism. It's a mystery where he gets all that confidence. Maybe he could share some with the rest of society? Yuan Hui gently knocked on the bathroom door, confidently expressing his unique personality and aesthetic. Those weak little brats will never understand that the secret to love at first sight lies in the suspension bridge effect. The hero and the heroine usually go through an unexpected, heart-pounding event before they fall deep into the river of love. He thought to himself, "And I, Yuan Hui, am a master of..." The person inside was drying their hair. When they heard the knock, they became aware of his presence. Yuan Hui seized the opportunity. He took his chance and began to make his move, telling himself, "Now's the moment." He lunged toward the tall figure in the bathrobe. If he still hasn't realized he's got the wrong person by now, he's truly beyond saving. He rushed forward with astonishing speed, aiming straight for the loosely tied bathrobe. He thought, this kind of first love scenario is all about creating an unexpected moment and making her heart pound. "Buddy, what you're doing is already a crime. I've never seen someone so hopelessly blind." Yuan Hui thought smugly. Xinyue must be so moved right now. Her heart in turmoil from the surprise, and her flustered reaction is all my doing. The fact that this guy is still alive and well must be thanks to the immense good fortune of his ancestors. Yuan Hui moved too fast, too recklessly. Just as the bathrobe fell, he was already in position. This is the perfect chance to confess. Instantly, he let out a passionate shout, a fiery cry. "I love you. For 10,000 years. He then tossed the bathrobe sash into the air and leaped forward like a character in a romance comic. Who knows how many romance novels this guy's read? The author is embarrassed for him. Yuan Hui smugly presented the flowers, while the person opposite him just wanted to beat him to a pulp. Yuan Hui was lost in his own world, happy and blissful, completely unaware of the disaster about to crash down on his head. Perfect. In another second, she'll let out a high-pitched scream. But I've already prepared the most polished, perfect words to express my extraordinary masculine charm. And then, a minute later, the owner of that scream will fall madly in love with me. He shouted eagerly in his mind, "Come on, scream for me." After waiting a long moment with no reaction, he started to feel like something was wrong. When Yuan Hui finally looked up, oh boy, there was no Ewer here. Only a furious Qin Tianxiong with veins popping on his forehead. Yuan Hui was so shocked his face went deathly pale, drained of all color, and he thought to himself, "Oh shit." Terrified, Yuan Hui's face turned white as a sheet. He quickly hid the bouquet of roses behind his back. The current situation was truly beyond words. Immediately after, he began to scream as if he'd just seen a ghost. No, seeing a ghost would have been better. Tianxiong, however, just laughed maniacally and roared, "You son of a bitch. He sent the guy flying several meters with a single kick. Blood gushed from his head like a fountain. Tianxiong roared. "You said you love who?" What followed was a merciless beatdown at the hands of the Alliance lieutenant. What a truly poetic scene. That night, the entire Golden Hotel trembled with Tianxiong's fury. "Get the hell out." His subordinates in the hotel were all shaken by the outburst. Their faces turned grim. They were on high alert. "What's going on? Where's that noise coming from? This is bad. It's Captain Sheen. Enemy attack." The men scrambled up to the 7th floor. They rushed to storm in and provide backup. "Hurry, protect Lieutenant Sheen." But the scene inside the room was beyond bizarre. Yuan Wei was clinging to a half-naked Tianxiong for dear life, refusing to let go. He was desperately trying to explain. "Lieutenant Sheen, please just let me explain." This only enraged the lieutenant further. "Let go of me." But the man only held on tighter. He used all his strength to plead his case. "Lieutenant Sheen, it's not what you think. My father, Tianxiong was about to explode with rage. "I said let go of me, damn it. Let me put my pants on." Unfortunately, his overeager subordinates chose that exact moment to kick the door down and charge in. They burst in, faces grim like they were catching an adulterer. They yelled in unison, "Captain, are you all right?" But when they saw the scene inside the room, they all fell dead silent. Yuan Wei, still clinging desperately. He sobbed, "Lieutenant Sheen, please let me explain." Tianxiong, at the end of his rope, roared, "Let go. I told you to let go. Do you hear me?" Witnessing this, his comrades' faces all went pale. As for Tianxiong and Yuan Wei, their faces were as red as beets. This situation was something you could never explain away, not even if you jumped into the Yellow River. A complete and utter misunderstanding. The air turned ice cold. A desolate wind seemed to blow through the room. It was a deeply, profoundly awkward scene. The men made a decisive retreat. The last one out gently pulled the door shut. "My apologies. Sorry to interrupt. Have a good night." Outside, the men proved to be bigger gossips than a sewing circle of neighborhood. They buzzed with excited discussion. "So the captain has some interesting tastes. That pretty boy, he's so pale and smooth." About a minute earlier, in room 707, Gao Nung was waiting for his chance when he heard the subordinates' frantic shouts. "Protect Lieutenant Sheen." He couldn't help but wonder, what's going on? Why would Lieutenant Sheen be upstairs? And so, Gao Nung, unable to contain his curiosity, was about to open his door to check things out when he spotted Shinninger walking by. He was stunned. He wondered, "Shinninger, what you doing here?" Afraid of being seen, Gao Nung only dared to peek out for a second before quickly shutting the door to hide. His confusion only deepened. What is this situation? The person upstairs is actually Qin Tianxiong. Does that mean Shinninger is the one in room 708? However, he didn't let himself get bogged down by the question for too long. No matter what was happening upstairs, this was an opportunity he absolutely could not miss. And so, 10 minutes later, he carried a large, bulky bag and broke into Shinninger's room. Gao Nung climbed in through the window, looking for all the world like a common burglar. The first step went smoothly, letting him breathe a sigh of relief. "I'm finally in. I'm still not used to this tactical suit." He glanced at a backpack and recognized it as an item that had been demonstrated at school. His face immediately went pale. Looks like there's no mistake. This is definitely Shinninger's room. He put on his backpack and was about to find a place to hide when he happened to see a black capsule on the table. It reminded him of when she controlled the metal dragon. Gao Nung fiddled with the capsule. He tried to suppress the greed rising in his heart at the speed of light. This is the high-grade capsule Shinninger uses to store her energy source. If I were to sell this, it would go for at least 1,000 Alliance credits. Calm down. It wasn't easy getting in here. He didn't forget his main objective. When he snuck in here, he told himself, the most important thing is to find a safe place to hide. So, Gao Nung began to scan every nook and cranny of the room, searching for a safe hiding spot. After searching the entire room, the closet was the only viable option left. "I've looked everywhere, and this is still the only place I can hide." While he was still hesitating, the room's owner was about to return. Gao Nung was out of time. He gritted his teeth and thought, "Oh crap, she's back." And so, he decisively threw open the closet doors and jumped inside. No more time to hesitate. Luckily for him, just as he closed the closet door, she opened the door to the room. Yor walked right in, completely unaware of the intruder's presence. Gao Nung sat in the closet. He was too scared to even move. He could only keep telling himself to calm down. Stay calm. I'm sure I didn't leave any tracks outside. Shininger won't find me. She went straight into the bathroom and started running the water. Hearing the sound of running water, Gao Nung, hiding in the closet, felt a little less tense. The sound of water. She's taking a shower? However, the danger was not over yet, and Gao Nung could only pray. I just hope she goes straight to bed after this. 10 minutes passed. Yuder walked out of the bathroom with a facial mask on. She slipped on some slippers and headed for the closet. Gao Nung silently tried to figure out what was happening. Footsteps. Sound like she's out. But when he realized where she was going, he was terrified. She's coming this way. No way. You gotta be kidding me. Gao Nung could only grab the nearest clothes to try and camouflage himself. When Ninger opened the closet door, surprisingly, because she had cucumber slices over her eyes, she couldn't see a thing. Yor adjusted her mask. While reaching into the closet, her hand headed straight for the dress that was shielding him. Gao Ning's heart stopped. I'm dead. So dead. Just as her fingertips were about to touch him, they suddenly stopped. Luckily for him, she didn't feel like wearing the outfit he was hiding behind today. She grabbed the dress next to it instead, and she kicked the closet door shut with her foot. She hummed as she walked away. Little bunny, open up the door. Quickly, open up now. I want to come inside. That was way too close for comfort. Gao Nung had finally escaped disaster. He instinctively held up an outfit to get a better look at it. This bunny's suit is actually her pajamas? So this is Shun Yuder's taste, huh? Gao Nung mumbled. A face mask and cucumbers, too. Yor contentedly relaxed with her mask on and happily played a round of game. Meanwhile, Gao Nung nodded in admiration. The perfect image of teenage girl, indeed. Yor slowly drifted into a deep sleep. She must have been having a nightmare. Her eyelashes were wet with tears and her face was etched with anxiety. The scene in her dream was a dark, filthy place with a stench that assaulted the senses. A faint ray of light shining through an iron grate made the place look like a sewer tunnel. A little girl, a younger Shin Yor, sat huddled on a pile of damp cardboard. She was dressed in old, tattered clothes, caked in filth. The little girl was silent, her gaze fixed on a faint glimmer of light. Then, the dreamscape suddenly shifted. From the deep darkness, savage, blood-red eyes began to appear. Suddenly, a rat shrieked, and then an entire swarm of sewer rats charged toward the small Yor. The little girl was frozen in place, her face pale with terror. She screamed in horror. No, no, stay away. The vision from her dream shocked Yor awake. Her heart was filled with terror, her mind screaming. Stay away. She shot up in bed, instinctively scanning her surroundings, desperate to confirm she was safe. Her whole body tensed on guard. After a moment of surveying the room, she started to feel a little more at ease. Her face was gaunt from lack of sleep. She thought sorrowfully, that dream again. Suddenly a soft dripping sound echoed through the room. The sound was exactly like the one from her dream. The drip of water. It frayed Yor's already panicked nerves, stretching them taut. She was instantly on high alert. And then, Yor caught a familiar scent. A smell that dredged up those hellish memories. A wave of horror washed over her. This smell and this sound. Could it be? On instinct, she snatched the room's landline and tried to call the hotel staff. Her voice trembled. Hello? Hello? Room service? Yor kept dialing, but was met with only silence. The phone had become useless. The unease coiling in her gut tightened. But then, in that very instant, her horror peaked as she realized the entire room was crawling with vicious rats. Their target was clearly Yor, who sat frozen on the bed, stared down by a sea of haunting eyes. She was consumed by fear. Trembling, she curled up under the blanket, trying to hide. But cruel reality offered her no escape. This waking nightmare continued as the lead rat let out a sharp squeak, as if signaling the rest of the pack. They swarmed toward Yor like a broken beehive, plunging her deeper into terror. Her fear reached a breaking point, making her wish she could just vanish from the face of the earth. Her teeth chattered uncontrollably. Tears of despair streamed down her face. However, even a cornered animal will fight back. When her endurance reached its absolute limit, she had no choice but to rise up. With all her might, she whipped the blanket, flinging the rats that had swarmed around her. Get away from me. The weakest of the rats were sent flying into the walls, dying instantly. But that wasn't enough to free Ewer from the trauma of her past. Her face was ashen. Her mind teetered on the brink of collapse. She slumped to the floor, murmuring words of self-reassurance. A dream. It's a dream. I must still be dreaming. Unfortunately, her self-hypnosis had no effect. Ewer scrambled forward. However, her desperate desire to escape was thwarted. Ewer's breathing grew more and more frantic. Her path was blocked. More importantly, blocking her way was a sewer rat taller than she was. The sight froze Ewer in place, faced with a horror magnified 1,000 times over. Ewer couldn't see any ray of hope. She begged, her voice laced with terror. Don't come any closer. The foul, giant rat didn't seem to understand human speech. It lunged forward instantly. As she faced it, all she could do was tremble. Still, a warrior's instinct remained deep within Shen-Ning. So by natural reflex, she launched a full power punch straight into the rat's gut. The impact made it gag and spit out a mouthful of fresh blood. The rat was sent flying backward, slamming into the wall so hard it cracked. Unbelievably, the punch didn't actually breach the wall. The structural integrity of this place is truly impressive. After that full power punch, Shen-Ning was utterly drained. Her fist still tingled with the last vestiges of her strength. As the dust slowly settled, the rat's full form became visible. Seeing that it didn't stir or awaken, Shen-Ning believed she had finally survived tonight's ordeal. Then the rat suddenly opened its eyes wide and sprang to its feet. It scared Shen-Ning so much her legs turned to jelly. She sank to the floor with a thud. Now, she was utterly at its mercy, resigned to her fate. Shen-Ning trembled, uttering a desperate plea. Don't come any closer. Please no. I'm begging you. But the rat ignored her, throwing its head back to unleash an ear-splitting shriek, then slowly advanced toward Shen-Ning. She had by now completely abandoned all thoughts of resistance. She could only helplessly look up at it, having endured too many shocks and terrors in one night. Shen-Ning was simply scared into unconsciousness. Unconscious. The rat hadn't expected her to give up so soon. Its eyes widened in surprise and suspicion. Still uneasy, it leaned down close to her hand. Speak up. Hey, Shen-Ning. But she had truly been knocked unconscious by the overwhelming fear. She was completely out of it, unaware of anything. After confirming Shen-Ning had truly lost consciousness, Gowning finally pulled down his zipper. Immediately, a piece of metal fell clanking to the ground. Clearly, after taking a direct hit like that, he wasn't unscathed. Fresh blood trickled from the corner of his mouth. He let out a soft groan. Damn, that hurts. He couldn't help but sigh internally. That punch earlier was utterly brutal. Gao Neng glanced at the piece of metal at his feet and muttered, using my dark childhood to scare someone. And I almost got punched to death. Can you believe that? Still, he quickly brushed it off and told himself. But the ritual sacrifice has finally begun. While he was busy scaring Shen-Ning, Yuan Hui, his body covered in injuries, was being helped out of the hotel by Azi. Full of resentment, he loudly declared, Qi Tianxiong, you'll regret this, you hear me? Azi, however, wasn't as bold as him. He was utterly terrified. He weakly tried to persuade him. Brother Yuan, we really should just leave here. What if something unexpected happens? I'm worried. Yuan Hui had just taken a savage beating, so he felt like lashing out at anyone. Unfortunately, Azi became the scapegoat for his rage. He grabbed his collar and snarled. What are you so afraid of? I'm the one who got beaten. What the hell is there to be worried about? He certainly didn't dare to provoke him further. He hurriedly tried to calm him down. Brother Yuan, calm down. Yuan Hui, arrogant by nature, had never suffered such humiliation. His face was etched with fury, and declared, There's no way I'm leaving like this today. Azi still tried to reason with him. Brother Yuan, don't get worked up. Qi Tianxiong has already warned us. But these words only fueled his rage. Warning, that Qi Tianxiong only dared to warn us. Yuan Hui looked confident, and said arrogantly, he wants to meddle in the affairs of this land of oblivion? Aside from my father, no one else can help him. Azi couldn't believe he was hearing such shocking news. He gasped in horror. What? Brother Tang, You're saying Qi Tianxiong wants to get involved in the affairs of the Forsaken Land? How so? Yuan Hui's face was swollen like a pig's head, but he still managed to smirk as he spoke. In this Forsaken Land, social order collapsed a long time ago. The three great factions are the true emperors here. He grew more and more arrogant as he spoke, lecturing with an air of profound wisdom. He rambled on that if the Alliance wanted to take control of the Forsaken Land, they would have no choice but to work with one of the three great factions. The naive AZ was completely taken in by his words. He asked with curiosity, "Brother Tang, does that mean the Alliance will choose?" Yuan Hui raised a single finger to the sky, his confidence absolute and unshakable. He declared decisively, "You don't even need to ask. They have absolutely no reason not to choose me." Even so, the cowardly AZ still had his doubts. "Brother Tang, but Shen Ninger is with the military. What if?" At this, his true nature was finally revealed. A sinister grin spread across his face. He said with a sneer, "The military? So what? The capital of hope? Who cares? As long as I have this in my grasp, not even the military would dare to touch me. Besides, what kind of backing can a mere soldier who happens to know one genius really have?" He grew more and more animated, the filthy thoughts in his mind spilling out uncontrollably. With a lecherous and theatrical air, he laid out his entire plan for Z. "All I have to do is make it a done deal tonight, and the Alliance will have no choice but to compromise. And when that time comes, this young master will comfort her gently, and then plant a little kiss right on her lips. Tell me, won't the military have to support me then?" A Z, proving himself to be the perfect lackey, and a textbook moron, wriggled with excitement and clapped his hands together. His silver-tongued flattery didn't miss a beat. "Brother Tang, you're brilliant. When you go to the capital of hope, you have to take little brother AZ with you." Pleased with his subordinate's quick-witted bootlicking, Yuan Hui casually promised, "I'll take you, but that will depend on your performance." Since Plan A had failed miserably, Yuan Hui immediately switched to Plan B. He pulled out a test tube and mumbled, "Shen Ninger should be asleep by now. It's time to make my move." Inside the test tube was a pale pink gas. He held it close to his nose. He made a cryptic remark, a whisper of rosemary in the dead of night. Not even a goddess could resist it. At that moment, Ninger was completely unconscious. As for Gao Nung, he was shedding his sewer rat costume and getting ready to make his move. He wiped the beads of sweat from his forehead. As he turned off the sound effect, a satisfied thought crossed his mind. Spending an hour in that sewer wasn't for nothing. After all, I managed to get some pretty juicy audio, just as he thought he could relax. He realized his watch already read 11:15 p.m. The deadline for the offering was approaching, and Gao Nung scrambled once more. Time to get everything ready. He took out the tools he had prepared in advance. Since the offering required fire and fresh blood, the candles would have to serve as the fire. And for the fresh blood, he'd have to make do with chicken blood he bought at the market. He carefully arranged the candles in a perfect circle, the space between them perfectly even. Beneath the candles were strange symbols drawn in blood. Ninger had been placed right in the center of the circle. Next, Gao Nung used a calligraphy brush to paint on her face. Now for the pattern. After he was done, he couldn't help but step back and admire his own handiwork. I am good. When it comes to art, I'm practically a genius. But time was running out. He had to put his self-admiration aside to finish the job. With no one else around, Gao Nung, he struck a cool pose, ready to belt it out. The final step was the slogan, "Years of burning passion, a youth of bloodshed." By the time he finished the chant, the clock read 11:50. He held the pose for a moment, but still nothing happened. Gao Nung felt a wave of embarrassment. He waited and waited, but still nothing. He was starting to doubt the system's reliability. What's going on? Where's the reward you promised? Just as his faith in the system hit rock bottom, it finally let out a ding and displayed a notification. Sacrifice incomplete. Slogan was not loud enough. Failure to complete within 20 seconds will result in mission failure. Hearing the absurd demand, Gao Nung couldn't help but curse out loud. Are you insane? It's the middle of the night. How much louder do you want me to get? But failing now, after coming all this way, would be even more infuriating. He couldn't accept that. He had no choice but to gather ki from his dantian, preparing to scream his lungs out. There was no other way. He was in too deep to back out now. I can't give up. Just as he took a deep breath, ready to let out an earth-shattering yell, he suddenly caught a familiar scent. For a moment, Gao Ning's head swam. He completely forgot about reciting his lines. A few seconds later, his body swayed. His limbs went limp, without a shred of strength left. He collapsed helplessly to the floor. He clutched his nose, his mind racing. This is the scent of a sedative herb. He waited for only a moment before. The door to room 708 creaked open. Yuan Hui tiptoed in. As he came in, he made sure to give his lackey an order. Azzi, you keep a close watch on the door. He obeyed like a loyal puppy. Got it. Don't worry, brother Yuan. The moment Yuan Hui stepped inside, he froze, his expression instantly hardening. He glared at Gao Neng. He put his hands on his hips and shouted, Gao Neng. Then, remembering the painful lesson he'd learned earlier that night, he slapped his forehead dejectedly and mumbled, Don't tell me I'm in the wrong room again. But a Z, from behind him, immediately corrected him. No, that's not it. Brother Yuan, look. Following a Z's pointed finger, Yuan Hui saw Shun Ninger and the half-finished ritual on the floor. He immediately screamed at the top of his lungs. Shun Ninger. But this only confused him even more. His eyes darted from Gao Neng to the girl, mumbling to himself, Wait a minute. What the hell is going on here? Let me get this straight. Are you two having a candlelight dinner? No, that's not right. Why is Gao Neng here? Yuan Hui couldn't figure it out, so he just pointed a finger at Gao Neng and started accusing him. Gao Neng, you got a lot of nerve. Barging into Shun Ninger's room. What did you do to her? Why is she like this? Under the effects of a knockout drug, Gao Neng had no strength left. His head felt heavy. He thought to himself, So, dizzy. Why? Don't I have any strength? Yuan Hui looked down at his struggling form on the floor. He let out a sinister laugh as he came to a conclusion. From the looks of it, you fell victim to this young master's knockout drug. Certain that Gao Neng could no longer fight back, Yuan Hui snapped his fingers, his verdict delivered without a second thought. Gao Neng, what happened tonight? You were destined to take the fall for it. Just wait until I'm done having my fun with Shun Ning. So this was all you're doing. It's true what they say. Villains always die because they can't shut up. Meanwhile, Yuan Hui just kept running his mouth. And I am the hero who will save Shen Yuner. But his constant yapping was what gave Gao Neng the time he needed to recover his strength. He took a deep breath and let out a deafening roar. Oh, the passion of my youth, the bloodshed of my prime. Gao Neng used the last of his strength to scream the incantation. Oh, the passion of my youth, the bloodshed of my prime. Then he defiantly threw himself face down into the sacrificial circle. Yuan Hui and Azi quickly clapped their hands over their ears. Not understanding what the hell he was trying to pull, Yuan Hui cursed in frustration. What the hell is this guy screaming about all of a sudden? Then it hit him. They were sneaking into someone else's room. A guilty conscience pricked him, and he blurted out, This is bad. With all that screaming, someone's bound to show up any second. Sensing the danger, Yuan Hui immediately barked an order. Azzi, pin him down. Don't let him get away, no matter what. Without a moment's hesitation, Azzi responded. Right? Their original plan was now in complete shambles. Thinking fast, Yuan Hui came up with a new plan. He fell back, and together with Azzi, pinned Gao Neng down. Gao Neng was trapped. All right, what now? Well, so much for saving Shen Yuner. At least I got to play the hero trying to save the damsel in distress. Completely overpowered. Gao Neng couldn't help but start doubting the system. Why hasn't the mission completed yet? Don't tell me this piece of crap system screwed me over. As if reading his mind, the system instantly appeared. A notification. He felt a surge of joy. There it is. It appeared, bearing a message. Good news. Host has passed the ability assessment. Mission completed. Sacrifice Shun Ninger. Instantly, the screen switched to his personal profile. Name, Gao Ning. Age, 18. The screen continued to display his stats. Basic information, 12th grade student. Forsaken Lands, 3rd senior high school. Then, his assessment results appeared. Vitality, 25 of 101. Status, max limit reached. Mental strength, 10/50. Status, max limit reached. Potential elemental affinity, iron, 19%. Copper, 0%. Tin, 3%. Silver, 1%. Gold, 0%. phosphorus 1%, sulfur 1%, silicon 8%. A higher affinity percentage indicates greater compatibility with that element's energy. The system provided an excruciatingly detailed assessment. Special abilities: none. Evolution progress: 1 out of 10. Completion. System assessment. Host appearance: perfect. Vitality: average. Mental strength: average. Potential affinity: low tier. Even though the assessment did call him handsome, Gao-Ning wasn't happy about it in the slightest. He was fuming. "You've got to be kidding me. Perfect appearance, fine, I'll take it. That's just a fact. I can even let average vitality and mental strength slide." But the system was cruel, displaying a side-by-side comparison between him, Shen Yuner, and Tian Xiong, which made him cry out in protest. "But low-tier potential affinity. Are you sure you didn't pick the wrong guy? My highest affinity is iron, and it's only 19%. What the hell is this crap?" The system offered no sympathy, no words of comfort. It simply stated the facts, cold and indifferent. Host has completed a mission with elite difficulty. Host will receive the ultimate power baptism. Additionally, you have a 100% chance of receiving a primary Yang treasure and a 50% chance of receiving a special power. The moment he heard the ultimate power baptism begin, the only word on Gao-Ning's mind was ultimate, and his eyes began to sparkle. The system initiated a scan of the sacrifice, Yuer, to begin the offering process, acquiring the sacrificial target's latent talent. Shen Yuer, after initiating the scan and running a second, more detailed analysis, it once again confirmed her extraordinary talent. Latent talent analysis. Conclusion: Shen Yuer possesses an immense source of latent talent. Fortunately, the system was running exceptionally smoothly today. It quickly finished its work, successfully copying Shen Yuer's latent talent. Once the copy was complete, the process of extracting its essence began, beginning enhancement of the copy of Shen Yuer's latent talent. Just a few seconds later, the system successfully created an energy orb modeled after the extracted talent. It cheerfully announced, "Enhancement successful. Latent talent value increased." Seeing his stat bars suddenly skyrocket, Gao-Ning was ecstatic. "It's rising. It's really rising." But his joy was short-lived as the system issued another notification. Update complete. The stat window did a complete 180. Enhanced latent talents. Iron, 100%. Copper, 100%. Steel, 100%. Silver, 100%. Gold, 100%. Phosphorus, 100%. Sulfur, 100%. Silicon, 100%. Staring at the perfect stat sheet before him, Gao-Ning smiled with delight. "My latent talents. They're all here." But then his eyes fell on the evolution line. 1 out of 10. He was instantly confused. Just a little. What's this evolution thing about? Even with his head being pinned to the floor, Gao-Ning didn't care. He was completely focused on figuring out this whole evolution thing. Is this a progress bar for that evolution line? Does that 10 mean that at 10, the evolution will be complete? So how do I raise it? By completing more missions? No. The most important question is, what will I turn into once I'm fully evolved? Will I be like Superman, transforming into King Kong? Or will a savage battle lowly descend upon the world? Before he could ponder it any further, the system continued to bestow rewards. Host has received 1 primary Yang treasure. Simultaneously, you have received a special power. The 3rd broadcast calisthenics routine for primary and middle school students. Dancing Youth. Friendly reminder: when the host performs the movements of the 3rd broadcast calisthenics routine for primary and middle school students, you will gain the happy mood status. In this state, your cultivation speed will increase by 50%. Your chi and blood recovery speed will increase by 300%. All negative statuses will be cleared. The reward is pretty damn good, but the condition to activate it is completely absurd. Gao-Ning couldn't hold back his sharp tongue and cursed inwardly. This ridiculously OP calisthenics routine. Can you please take it back? Does this mean I have to dance around every single time I want to cultivate from now on? Gao-Ning, may have never been normal, but I still have some damn dignity. Yuan Hui saw him muttering to himself like a lunatic. Both annoyed and confused, he asked, "This kid just keeps mumbling. What the hell is he doing?" A Z raised an eyebrow, offering a guess. "I don't know. Maybe he's been scared stupid." Just then, He suddenly began to stir. Are you kidding me? Seriously? Why wake up now of all times? Her entire body was enveloped in a thin film of energy. The situation was critical. In that instant, Gao-Ning knew he had to cast aside his dignity and make a choice. I'm out of options. Workout. Physical fitness test. He braced his hands against the floor, trying to push himself up. Seeing this, Yuan Hui pressed down with even more force to pin him. What's this little punk muttering about? A Z joined in to help hold him down. You better not try anything funny. Gao-Nung ignored them completely. He screamed, first exercise. Somehow, he straightened up, throwing them off, sending the two flying. Yuan Hui was completely stunned by the blow. Huh. Gao-Nung counted as he performed the exercise. 1,234. 1,234. He and a Z could only clutch their faces in disbelief. This. The rage from that, he snapped out of his stupor and roared with fury. Pull him down. Maybe he was scared so badly he's gone crazy. Don't let him run wild. A Z, clutching his face, replied. Okay. Just as the two were about to charge and restrain him, the system announced again. Second exercise. Chest expansion. Just as a Z rushed forward, he was met with a fist to the gut. After just a short workout, his stats had already improved significantly. Blood Chi, 50. Stamina, 21. Seeing the immediate results, Gao-Ning's doubts about this exercise routine completely vanished. It's going up. It's really going up. It's actually working. Seeing his crony get beaten into a daze, an infuriated Yuan Hui rushed forward, cursing. You useless piece of trash. You can't even handle a bookworm like him. The system announced it was time for the third exercise. Leg lifts. Gao-Nung unleashed a beautifully timed kick. Now, one of the two goons was clutching his stomach, while the other held his jaw. They were both a mess. Yuan Hui thought resentfully. Dealing with a psycho is never easy. No choice. I'll just have to teach him a real lesson. Then, he pulled out a dagger. His face twisted into a vicious expression. He glared at him with cold malice. But before Yuan Hui could make a move, there was a knock at the door. A voice called from outside. Major Shun, is everything all right? Those words left the three young men in the room completely frozen. With a storm of emotions, all three of them exclaimed in unison. Major! Shinninger is a major? Of course. The one panicking the most was still Gao-Nung. He couldn't help but scream internally. This damn system. It actually wants me to sacrifice a major. It's got the guts to give the order, but I'm the one who has to face the music? The soldier outside received no response. He knocked again, harder this time. He continued to call out. Major Shun, what's going on in there? Major Shun. Upon learning her identity, all of Yuan Hui's confidence evaporated. A chill ran down his spine. As he thought to himself, Shinninger is a major. An 18-year-old major in the Alliance. The youngest major in the entire Alliance. The power backing her must be. While he was lost in his terrified thoughts, he heard the sound of a window opening. The two goons looked over. They saw that Gao-Nung had, at some point, finished his workout and was now preparing to escape. Seeing this, he panicked and shouted, Gao-Nung, what the hell do you think you're doing? He stood on the windowsill and said with a brilliant smile, so sorry about this, but I'm not taking the fall for this one. Still, it was better to let the two of them handle it. When Yuan Hui noticed the pupa in his hand, he muttered in shock. That bastard. That looks just like the thing that was on Shinninger. Before he could make sense of it, the man tossed the pupa straight into the room. It looked solid, but it was surprisingly fragile. The moment the pupa hit the ground, it shattered. Without a second's hesitation, Gao-Nung leaned out of the building. He said with a smile, see you around. From the cracks, an immense wave of heat erupted. The Chaos Dragon instantly materialized, its mouth filled with molten lava. Its body was far too massive for the room, causing the four walls to crack and then crumble. It all happened so fast, the two-clown team was caught completely off guard. Outside room 708, the group felt the energy emanating from the metal dragon. They frantically broke down the door to provide backup. Qin Tianxiong led the charge. Recognizing the creature at once, he took a defensive stance. A dragon. Immediately after, his eyes locked onto Yuan Hui. His face darkened as he gritted his teeth. You again. Hearing that voice, as deep and chilling as an echo from hell, Yuan Hui trembled uncontrollably. Then, his eyes fell on the unconscious Ninger. lying in the middle of a strange circle. A single glance was enough to tell some dark ritual was in progress. Yuan Hui instinctively tried to explain himself, but the dagger in his hand only made him look more suspicious. Lieutenant Qin, I didn't do this. I was here to save her, really. The real culprit is. Qin Tianxiong didn't bother listening. He charged forward, throwing a punch and roaring. You bastard. The force behind the punch was immeasurable. Yuan Hui slammed into the wall, blasting a huge hole through it. After that strike, he detected the scent of an aphrodisiac incense in the room. His fury instantly erupted with even greater intensity. He ground his teeth, the new hatred piling on top of the old. It drove Qin Tianxiong into an even deeper rage. He grabbed him, ready to deliver another slap. Incense? You son of a bitch. How dare you drug a major? Yuan Hui didn't dare to look him in the eye. Despite being beaten to a pulp, he still tried to defend himself. Lieutenant Qin, this whole thing, it's not what you think. But with the scene laid out so clearly, what room was there for excuses? In any case, Qin Tianxiong wasn't buying it. He roared his accusation. The evidence is right here in front of us. And you still have the nerve to deny it? I'm going to kill you today. Just as he was about to be struck again, a strange wind suddenly kicked up, stirring the very air in the room. The powerful vortex interrupted the beating. From his current position, Qin Tianxiong was unintentionally shielding Yuan Hui from the wind. The dragon, which had been as still as a statue, suddenly began to move again. Its once blank eyes now glowed with a piercing blue light. It flew loyally around its master. Ninger was now on her feet, her presence more powerful than ever before. She still hadn't fully regained consciousness. Her gaze was filled with unshakable resolve. She declared in a solemn voice, You can't scare me. I won't be afraid of you anymore. I won't. Absolutely not. Qin Tianxiong understood the situation at a glance. She had lost control. His face went pale with fear. Major Shun. With decades of experience under his belt, he immediately ordered his subordinates to fall back. Hurry, get out of here now. It all happened in a flash. The metal dragon opened its mouth and let out a world-shaking roar. Its movements grew more and more violent, causing the entire room to shake fiercely. The heat radiating from it was intense enough to cook a herd of cattle. With its every move, chunks of rock rained down like a meteor shower. Tianxiong's men, all too familiar with situations like this, quickly evacuated the room. Only Wei was out of luck. He was so scared he couldn't move a muscle. He frantically fumbled in his pocket, tried to negotiate. Don't kill me. Wait, don't kill me. I have something important to give you. But Xianger wasn't about to listen. To a word he said, a merciless whip of her tail came crashing down. The object in Wei's pocket flew out, bouncing once before hurtling out of the room. Before he blacked out, a single, bitter thought filled his mind. Why? Why is this happening to me? Tianxiong's men stood outside the door, not daring to enter. He shouted desperately into the room. Captain, if this keeps up, the whole hotel is going to collapse. He yelled, a few half-hearted words, then decided to hell with it. All of them. He led his men and bolted without a second thought. Run. Who cares if the hotel comes down? As they fled, a horrifying thought began to dawn on Qin Tianxiong. So it's true. Shen Yuer can not only materialize and assimilate, she can also devour. Materialization plus devouring. That's a recipe for pure destruction. At that same moment, Gao Neng, hanging from the side of the building, watched the room explode violently. He stared at the terrifying black, and his professional instincts kicked in. He immediately made an on-the-spot appraisal. Noted, if I'd known that Iron Dragon was so powerful, I never would have jumped down here. Still, if you could bottle that kind of power and sell it, it'd be worth at least 5,000 alliance credits, easy. A moment later, with a few nimble movements of his hands and feet, he landed safely on the ground. Gao Neng struck a triumphant pose with a grin, nailed the landing. Just then, an object that had fallen from Wei's pocket came down and bonked him on the head. Gao Neng picked it up and examined it, a confused look on his face. Is this a metal storage device? Gao Neng turned it over a few times, still having no idea where it came from. So he casually slipped it into his pocket. A metal storage device. How'd this fall from all the way up there? Oh, whatever. I'll just hang on to it for now. Before leaving the smoldering scene, He waved his hand as if saying goodbye to a friend. Later. Then, he suddenly remembered he'd forgotten something important. Oh, right. Meanwhile, in the hotel lobby, the receptionist was on the phone with her manager. Her face etched with worry. Yes. It was Lieutenant Shin Tianxiong's group, the ones who rented out 2 floors. I have no idea what happened. Gao Nung walked up to the counter and nonchalantly held out his key card. Miss, checking out. The receptionist was swamped. With no time to appreciate a handsome face, she replied coldly. Just leave the key card there. He answered with a smile. Thanks. After checking out, Gao Nung left immediately. The whole process was so smooth. It only boosted his confidence. It's in the most dangerous situations that a person's true genius shines. He picked up his pace, his mind racing as he ran. I wonder if those 2 idiots will rat me out? And will Qi Tianxiong be able to track me down? As for Xin Yuer, I wonder if she even got a good look at my face. Gao Ning only pondered it for a moment before shoving. All his worries aside, he tried to reason with himself. If any of this gets out, I could be killed. I guess I'll just have to believe I'm some kind of lucky koi. Everything will find a way to work itself out. Beauty is justice, after all. He sprinted like the wind, not stopping until he reached a run-down old alley. I've run this far. I should be safe now. Gao Ning calmed his mind. He tapped the screen to check his loot. Oh, right. I still haven't opened that beginner's treasure chest. The chest on the system window popped open. A small white pill with wavy blue patterns shot out. The pill materialized in Gao Ning's palm. He murmured in curiosity. What's this? The system helpfully provided an explanation. Received, 1 marrow cleansing pill. Note, the marrow cleansing pill has 2 effects. 1. If the user's vitality and spirit values are not at their maximum, it can temporarily restore both values to their peak. 2. If the user's vitality and spirit values are already full, it will randomly reevaluate them. After reading the description, Gao Ning couldn't help but gasp. This is a divine pill. What caught his attention most was the final sentence of the description. Randomly reevaluate your vitality and spirit values. Ever since he got the system, Gao Ning had been constantly learning new things. He tried to make sense of it all using gaming terms. Potential talent must represent control and power output. Like in a game, it's basically skill power. He carefully reread his status panel. He thought excitedly. All my potential talent attributes are already at 100%. Only my vitality and spirit are at half. This pill is a godsend. It was nearly midnight by the time he returned home. The moon tonight is so big and round. In the dark, old neighborhood, only Gao Ning's house still had a light on, and the door was left ajar, waiting for him. He saw his mother slumped over the dining table, fast asleep. Gao Ning tiptoed, trying to sneak inside. However, the floorboards in his house were ancient. Naturally, some of them were loose. The creak woke his beloved mother. Sulan rubbed her eyes. She looked up at her son and asked softly, "You're home?" She didn't scold him for being so late. Instead, she brought out a few plates of food. Auntie Lu gave us 2 eggs and a piece of meat. Let me heat it up for you. After setting out the steaming dishes, she said gently, "Eat up." She watched him eat, then asked with concern, "Is the smell of the cooking oil too strong?" Gao Ning picked up some food with his chopsticks and replied, "Not all. It just smells delicious." He took a few bites, then looked at Su Lan seriously and announced, "The college entrance exams are in a few days. I want to apply to Hope Capital's military university." "Don't worry, Mom. I'll definitely get in," Gao Ning said as he ate. "I'll figure out how to get the 1,000 Alliance credit application fee myself." "You don't need to worry." Su Lan simply smiled gently in response. Hum. He quickly finished his dinner, barely touching the bowl of meat. He said with a thoughtful tone, "I'm full. This meat is really good. You should have some, Mom." Su Lan replied, "I've already eaten." Gao Ning didn't seem to believe her. He picked up a piece of meat and held it to her lips. He leaned forward, looking like he was about to feed her himself. He said with a smile, "Have some more." Unable to refuse her son's heartfelt gesture, Su Lan stopped him and said, All right. She took a piece with her own chopsticks. Gao Ning's resolve hardened. He said to Zilan, "Once I get into the military academy, we'll move to Hope Capital. We'll eat meat every single day." Hearing this, she said nothing more. "All right." Zilan took a single, obligatory bite and stood up. "I'm getting sleepy. I'm going to bed first. You should get some sleep soon, too. You have school tomorrow. Make sure you finish the rest of this meat, okay?" seeing that the bowl of meat was almost untouched. He couldn't help but let out a sigh. Gao Ning knew his mother didn't dare to eat, saving it all for him. In that moment, his determination to succeed grew even stronger. Don't worry, Mom. I'm all grown up now. I can be the pillar of this family. The system, picking up the signal, appeared in an instant. Host's intense desire for money detected. A screen materialized at the speed of light. Before his melancholy could set in, Gao Nung was struck with astonishment. The screen displayed a single, impressive headline. Initiating a man's responsibility. He dragged the progress bar to its maximum. A cascade of new windows popped up, one after another. He couldn't even read them all. The topmost window displayed a fiery slogan with an equally fiery illustration. As a man, you must be able to hold up the sky with one hand. You can be without power, but you can never be without money. Youth must burn with passion. That measly 1,000 credit registration fee is not enough to prove a man's worth. A true man must never stop pushing forward. Be brave enough to take on a challenge 100 times greater. After that long-winded sales pitch, it finally revealed the mission. Initiating a man's responsibility. Mission: earn 100,000 alliance credits within 3 days. Gao Nung read the mission objective. His expression instantly turned grave. 3 days. His mind was flooded with doubt. It was unbelievable. He had never seen that much money in his entire life. 100,000. This mission was just too absurd. Gao Nung couldn't stop his mind from racing. 3 days. Earn 100,000 alliance credits. How is that any different from robbing a bank? He blurted out the thought. His voice was rushed and anxious. So, my next mission is to rob a bank, right? The system was still processing and couldn't reply right away. After a moment of calculating and scanning, it popped up with its trademark smile. Normal difficulty. The system will provide the host with 2 pieces of intel to aid in completing the mission. This intel can help the host complete the mission. Upon completing normal difficulty, the host will receive a reward of 10% of the one. Additionally, you are 100% guaranteed to receive a primary Yang treasure. Elite difficulty. The system will provide you with 2 pieces of intel to aid in completing the mission. This intel can help the host complete the mission. Upon completing elite difficulty, the host will receive a reward of 50% of the 100,000 credits. Additionally, you are 100% guaranteed a primary Yang treasure and have a 10% chance of receiving an intermediate Yang treasure. By the end of its explanation, the system's eyes had turned into dollar signs. It even threw in a few words of encouragement that weren't very helpful. This system really had strong capitalist vibes. Nightmare difficulty. I was born for greatness. I'm the very luck of this new world. No need to feel pressured. Just go all out from the start. Upon completing nightmare difficulty, the host will receive a reward of 100% of the 100,000 credits. Additionally, you are 100% guaranteed an intermediate Yang treasure and have a 10% chance at a lucky draw. Time is money. Please select a difficulty level now. A wise choice will help the host grow stronger. A bicycle can become a motorcycle, but before that happens, you have to hold your head high and see if your aura of luck is strong enough. After rattling off that entire spiel, it forced him to choose the mission's difficulty. Go easy and I'm a chicken. Go hard and I'm just chicken feed. He listened to its long-winded pitch until it finally vanished. Gao Ning couldn't stop himself from flipping at the bird. This stupid system even knows how to take a middleman's cut. Keeping up with the times, huh? Even if now isn't the best time. Then he summoned 1,000% of his fighting spirit and declared once more with all his might. All right, it's just a challenge, right? A real man, of course, isn't afraid to face a challenge. A 50% debuff to my potential talent? No problem. It's all about making 100,000 alliance coins in 3 days. What's there to be afraid of? However, when it came time to choose, he gave up on nightmare mode. He skillfully navigated to another panel. I choose normal difficulty. The system was surprised that he didn't fall for the trap this time. It had to respect his quick thinking and continued with the process. The system will provide the host with 2 pieces of information to help complete the mission. They may be of assistance. If the host completes the mission on normal difficulty, the host can receive a reward of 10% of that 100,000. Furthermore, you are 100% guaranteed to receive a primary Yang treasure. Gao Ning smirked confidently to himself. These conditions are practically begging someone to commit a crime. He sat in his private room, musing with a hint of smugness. Being on guard is more important than anything. Even though the system is a bit of a trickster, it kept its word. It immediately provided the hints for the mission. The metal storage device that the host picked up, the answer may lie within. Hearing this, he was thoroughly unimpressed. How is this even considered a hint? How is the fact that I picked up the storage device your hint? Are you an idiot or something? The system seemed to hear the complaints inside Gao Nang's head. It proceeded to give the second hint. 2 in the morning is when defenses are at their weakest. It is also the only opportunity. The host is advised to carefully prepare a hammer, a wrench, and a shovel. Otherwise, the mission will fail. Gao Nang had only been guessing, but seeing it combined with these items sent a jolt of alarm through him. Am I really going to rob a bank? However, this only further proved how cunning the system was. He couldn't help but feel he'd gotten lucky. This second hint was clearly the key. If I'd been lured into choosing elite difficulty earlier, I would have failed for sure. Gao Nang became even more wary of this creature called the system. Just as I thought, when you need to be on your guard, you have to be on guard until the very end. Since the mission deadline was only 3 days, he began to investigate the first hint. Gao Nang carefully inserted the card into the slot on his computer tower. A moment later, his computer displayed the results. Gao Nang looked at the computer screen, thinking in disgust. There's a folder in here, and it's double encrypted. This stupid system. If I weren't an academic ace, this hint would have been totally useless. With that thought, he clicked the mouse a few times. Finally, he cracked the code. Done. 3 circles appeared on the computer screen. Before long, it had loaded to 65%. After a bit of tinkering, he finally uncovered the secret hidden inside the storage device. He had still been thinking he was about to rob a bank. This looks like a cross-section blueprint of some kind of internal structure. Could it be the bank's vault? But immediately after, he dismissed that possibility. This map looks more like a factory, and it's laid out with all sorts of dangerous weapons. Wait a minute. There seems to be a label at the top. These 2 characters are, with the intellect of an academic ace. It only took Gao Nang a few seconds to figure out. CIDUI. I can't believe this hint was related to such important information. He couldn't help but say it aloud. CIDUI, the origin of the Great Cataclysm. To explain this, we must go back to ancient times, to a giant progenitor, a great cataclysm. Ever since the first CIDUI appeared, this world has endured a centuries-long period of upheaval. And today, the dipole brought a new civilization to humanity. The birth of the chrysalis and the rise of the energy warriors are all closely linked to the dipole. But because there was so little information, Gao Nang couldn't deduce anything further. But this is all I know about the dipole. Right now, the land of ruin isn't qualified to receive intel on the dipole. He zoomed in on the document, the one containing those 2 words. He read it carefully one more time, questioning himself. Why is there a dipole label on this map? Could this place be a dipole? But, no, that's not right. How can a dipole be a factory? The more Gao Nang looked, the more suspicious he became. Dream Toy Factory. A toy factory is connected to the dipole? He searched for the location of the Dream Toy Factory on the map, but that only led to more mysteries. The location's a bit far out, and it closed down 4 months ago. As Gao Nang read more about the factory, a bunch of related ghost stories popped up. He blurted out in surprise. What the hell is this? You can't be serious. People still believe in this stuff? The most popular stories were about a murderous ghost, a dancing girl in red, and a boy in a mask. Still, reading ghost stories about an old factory in the middle of the night. Even Gao Nang felt a chill run down his spine. He took a sip of water to calm himself. He said, trying to sound tough, this is obviously just a bunch of nonsense. After the shock of the ghost stories wore off, Gao Nang thought about his upcoming mission and couldn't help but feel uneasy. The first clue gave me the location. Right, the location. The second one gave the time and the tools. But it's just an abandoned factory. It's not like I'm robbing a bank. The more I think about it, the more questions I have. I'm completely stumped. A wild thought crossed his mind. Unless there really is a dipole in that factory. Or, at the very least, something related to the dipole. Realizing he probably wasn't going to be robbing a bank, and considering the destination he was about to visit, Gao Nang started to reconsider the purpose of the tools. The hint said to bring a hammer. What's that for other than bashing someone's head in? God, what a grim thought. Gao Ning took another sip of water. He tried to calm his nerves. Whatever, he thought. The wrench is probably for the same thing. And then there was the last item. Gao Ning's thoughts escalated from assault to something far more sinister. The shovel. That must be for burying the body. Having thought it all through, Gao Ning reached into his pocket and muttered, "Doesn't matter if I'm robbing people or ghosts. Robbery is robbery. But I can't just charge in there with the little strength I have now." He took out the spirit pill he'd gotten from the ritual sacrifice. He swallowed it immediately, hoping to stay alive. Looks like I'll have to wait until dark. The moment the pill dissolved on his tongue, he tasted a cool, refreshing flavor. Whoa, it's mint, nice and cool, really pleasant. But a second later, the soothing coolness in his throat vanished instantly. It was replaced by a pain that pierced him to the bone. This isn't right. This cold, my bones, they feel like they're freezing solid. Well, of course, pain that deep is going to hurt like hell. Gao Ning couldn't stand the bone-deep agony. Before long, he collapsed onto the floor. He felt like a frog being baked alive. The pill's power surged violently through his body. He was experiencing two extreme climates at once. Gao Ning was in so much pain, he felt like he was dying over and over again. With the last of his strength, he mumbled, "My bones are frozen solid, but my blood is boiling. The freezing cold and searing heat, this torture never ends." This quickly pushed Gao Ning to his breaking point. He clutched his throat, his eyes bulging as he forced out the words. This pill is poison." The entire room filled with his agonized screams. Gao Ning's pain moans echoed without end. For him, in that moment, every second felt like an eternity. Even so, he endured. As his consciousness slowly returned, "Gao Ning," he let out a curse. "Are you trying to kill me?" Gao Ning looked up at his new status panel. Current blood chi, 64 out of 140. Spirit energy, 28 out of 63. The total values for his blood chi and spirit energy were still steadily increasing, but both stats were currently plummeting at an alarming rate. At the same time, he could feel the strength draining from his body. His face had also turned deathly pale. This is what an upgrade feels like. His blood chi continued to drop, causing his vision to go dark. If this keeps up, I'm definitely going to pass out. But still, I looked away for 1 second, and my health dropped to 40. At this rate, I'll be seeing my ancestors in no time. The more he looked, the more it confirmed his initial suspicions. I think my health is draining. If this continues, could it be that He realized that if things kept going like this, he'd be pushing up daisies soon enough. He frantically commanded the system. Pause. Pause for a second. But the goddamn system just played dumb. Not only did it not stop, it even offered to speed up the process. The smug look on its face was infuriating. Detected host blood chi has reached the maximum value of 200. Would you like to begin breaking through the body's limit now? At that moment, Gao Ning was cursing up a storm in his head. Break through my ass. Just give me a damn break. But his body was so weak from the rapid energy drain that he couldn't even speak a full sentence. Break through my... The shameless system didn't even let him finish. It put words in his mouth and happily continued its work. Confirmed. Initiating breakthrough. His blood chi bar now showed a measly 9 points. Gao Ning was on the verge of death, but it still wouldn't stop. He clutched his stomach, completely helpless as he let the curses fly. This goddamn system. It's a fucking murderer. He could curse all he wanted. It just kept going as if nothing was wrong. In his desperation, Gao Ning had a flash of brilliance. An idea. I can't. No, I can't take this anymore. I'm going to die. I have to hold on. Let's just do one exercise first. But right now, I can't even stand up. So he decided to start training while lying flat on his back. Gao Ning gathered what little strength he had left and started his workout. He counted as he exercised. 1,234 to 2,234. 1,234 to 2,234. Surprisingly, his method was incredibly effective. His blood chi and spirit energy bars both shot up at the same time. By the time the transformation was complete, Gao Ning was completely spent. He rarely pushed his body to its absolute limit. Now, he couldn't even lift an arm. Right now, all he wanted was to sleep. But the system wouldn't allow it. Its voice shattered the silence in the room. Host has successfully completed the first breakthrough of the body's limit. He felt a floating sensation, as light and relieved as if he were lying on water. The space around him was strangely quiet and peaceful. And then, when he opened his eyes, he found himself in a strange, unfamiliar place. Gao Nung wondered to himself, "Where am I?" Then, a gentle stream of energy seeped into his body, making him feel completely at ease. Gao Nung murmured in confusion, "This feels so good, incredibly comfortable." He passively absorbed that tranquil energy, feeling it flow through his every meridian. He could feel himself growing stronger. An unknown amount of time passed. Gao Nung suddenly jolted awake. He let out a startled cry, instantly on guard. He thought he was dead for sure. He yelled as he looked around the familiar room, then gasped in disbelief. "I'm still alive." It took him a few seconds to calm back down. Gao Ning's eyes fell on the dark black stains on the floor. It wasn't just on the floor. His entire body was covered in the same black substance, or rather, his body was the source of all that black gunk. Immediately after, an indescribable stench assaulted his nostrils. It nearly made Gao Nung pass out. He scrambled toward the bathroom. So disgusting. What is all this? He turned the shower on, the water comfortably warm. He desperately scrubbed away the horrific stench. He even turned on both faucets at once. Feeling his body become noticeably stronger after being cleansed, he mumbled in disbelief. He felt a sudden urge to confirm it. Gowning immediately summoned his personal status screen. Lines of data quickly appeared before him. Name, Gao-ning. Qi and blood, 15/201. First body limit break, success. Aptitude, superior. Qi and blood cultivation speed, plus 20%. Below that were his spirit power stats. The next section listed his spirit power data. Value, 8/96. First limit break, success. Aptitude, superior. Cultivation speed, plus 17%. Seeing that he had truly grown stronger and it wasn't just a hallucination, Gowning couldn't hide his overwhelming joy. The limits for my qi and blood and my spirit power have nearly doubled. This means I have the foundation to become an energy warrior. Legend has it that anyone who breaks their body's limit once has the foundation to become an energy warrior. They can then master basic energy combat methods, like the extraction technique. However, if someone manages to break their body's limit twice before becoming an energy warrior, they gain access to a much wider variety of energy combat methods, like the synthesis technique or energy refinement. An image of Shun Yu's powerful dragon suddenly flashed through Gao Neng's mind. It ignited a fierce ambition within him. What if I could break the limit 3 times? After a moment, a cheerful conclusion came to him. In other words, I just need to get my hands on a few more marrow washing pills, and I can become a once-in-a-millennium martial arts prodigy. And so, in a dingy bathroom in the slums of the Forgotten Land, a legend was about to be born. At that same moment, in his private study, Vice Principal Tangda of No. 3 Senior High School wore nothing but a pair of boxers. In one hand, he held a glass of wine. In the other, a paintbrush, posing like a true artist. His eyes were glued to the bare back of a beautiful woman lying face down on the bed, where a gorgeous rose was in full bloom. In a rising wave of excitement, he poured the wine onto the woman's bare back, his lips dripping with praise. Art. This is true art. The shimmering wine flowed perfectly into the heart of the rose on her back, just as he was preparing the next brushstroke to complete his masterpiece. His phone suddenly rang. The party crasher was none other than Qin Tianxiong. Tangda answered in a cheerful and friendly voice. Lieutenant Qin, what can old Tang do for you at this hour? However, the moment the call connected, the other end delivered some very bad news. Big trouble. The beauty on the bed lifted her head, her interest peaked. After hearing Tianxiong recount the entire night's events in one breath, Tangda's expression changed instantly. His face twisted with rage as he growled through gritted teeth. What did you say? Weyer attacked a major. As he bellowed into the phone, Yu Jing seemed oblivious. She just twirled a lock of hair and smiled faintly. Which major? Shen Ninger. Isn't she your soldier? Qin Tianxiong. Are you deliberately playing games with me? Tangda, in his rage, he immediately hung up the phone. He kicked a nearby chair. The poor chair suddenly became his outlet. After bearing the brunt of his anger, The chair's back was gone. It would forever be a stool. Even so, that wasn't enough to soothe the raging wrath within Tangda. He gnashed his teeth and mumbled, "All right, Qin Tianxiong, you dare mess with me?" Yu Jing sat up. She lit a cigar and elegantly exhaled a puff of smoke. She asked with a curious expression, "What has your precious son gotten into now?" Tangda's pent-up rage had nowhere to go. Noticing her interest, he immediately spilled everything. That sly fox Qin Tianxiong hid Shenninger's identity again. Now he tells me Shenninger is some sort of major. And he even said my son attacked her. Damn it, is he treating me as a joke? Yu Jing crossed her legs. With a seductive yet astute posture, she softly raised a question. A major? It seems your human alliance's purpose in coming to the Forgotten Lands this time isn't so simple, is it? Could it be? Did you reveal that? At the mention of the sensitive keyword, Tangda's emotions erupted like a volcano. He loudly refuted. That's impossible. He pondered deeply, then presented his argument and casually asked Yu Jing, I barely have any intel on that thing. If it really got out, then it must be an issue on Wang Xi's side. The Human Alliance's intelligence system is not something to be trifled with. Are you sure there's no problem on Wang Xi's side? However, Yu Jing didn't see it that way. She extinguished her cigar and replied with a disdainful tone. That old man, besides being impotent, what other problems could he possibly have? With that, she sidled closer, wrapped her arms around Tangda's arm, and acted coy. I still like you, you know. Come on, let's continue creating art. He glared at her with a disgusted look, then grumbled. Art comes from inspiration. If the inspiration's gone, what art is there to make? You just go back to Wang Xi's workshop for now. I need to make a trip to the Golden Hotel. Yu Jing didn't linger at all. She immediately let go of his arm. Before leaving, she didn't forget to put on a deeply affectionate act and reminded him, I just love artistic men. Like you, even your rejections have such class. She didn't even bother to change, simply draping a bath towel over her sheer garment, then walked out the door. Under the brilliant morning sun, brighter than a halo itself. Yu Jing turned back one last time and playfully warned him, Well, I'm heading back now. But next time, you can't refuse me, okay? With those words, she immediately turned and left without a second thought, leaving behind only a fleeting breeze. Tangda, his upper body bare, watched Yojing's retreating figure slowly disappear. As soon as she had left, his expression immediately changed, and he picked up the phone to call Qin Tianxiong. He still picked up, asking in an irritable voice, What now? Tangda didn't beat around the bush, going straight to his condition. Qin Tianxiong, I know where your target is, but on one condition. You have to find a scapegoat to take the blame for my son. No matter what, you must guarantee his safety. As he spoke, a cold glint flashed in his eyes. His tone was firm, allowing no room for refusal. Get it done, or this conversation is over. The next morning, Tianxiong summoned several hotel employees for a meeting. It seemed he had been swayed by the tempting offer, and was now desperately searching for a scapegoat. A moment later, the deep furrow in his brow began to smooth out. It appeared Tianxiong had found his unlucky victim. His name was written clearly on the file. The man was holding. It seemed misfortunes truly never came singly. The information on the document was crystal clear. Hourly room rental, room 707. Check-in time, 8:59 p.m. Guest name, Gao Nung. When Tianxiong closed the file and set it down, everyone understood that Gao Nung had been chosen. He scanned the faces of those present and asked, Who checked in room 707? The female receptionist, who had only bent the rules once out of kindness. Never expected to be questioned and couldn't help but tremble inwardly, whether she wanted to or not. She had to step forward and take responsibility. I did, seeing her cooperative attitude. Tianxiong's tone softened slightly. This Gao Nung, who is he? How old? The receptionist truthfully relayed everything she knew. About 17 or 18. I think he's a student at number 3 senior high school. He said he came here to see you. Don't you know him? Hearing a detail that would be perfect for framing the boy, Tianxiong couldn't help but smirk. To see me, you say? A student from number 3 senior high. Of course. He wasn't about to let this opportunity go to waste, and immediately ordered his subordinate. Contact Li Qingping. Ask him about this Gao Nung. Get his address, and send a few men to bring him here. The soldier bowed his head in obedience. Yes, sir. From that moment on, Gao Ning's fate was sealed by Tian Xiong. He glanced at the file. One more time, thinking with satisfaction. Gao Ning, this scapegoat isn't half bad. Not long after, the subordinates arrived at his home address. Most of the houses here were cracked and dilapidated, looking no different from abandoned buildings. However, the place they eventually found was nothing but a pile of ruins. One of the soldiers asked his comrade doubtfully, "Is this really Gao Ning's address?" The other replied after a moment of inspection, "This is the place." Meanwhile, Gao Ning had finished preparing his gear for an expedition into the wasteland. He had even carefully written a note for his mother. "I have to go to a friend's house to study tonight." He shouldered a military-style backpack nearly as big as he was, a wrench in one hand and a hammer gripped tightly in the other. All the while, he reviewed the plan in his head. Mom works 5 part-time jobs at once. She only comes home at night. The bolded title, "A Man's Responsibility," on the system window hovered constantly before his eyes. A persistent reminder that he had to complete his mission quickly. Gao Ning muttered to himself, "I have to finish this mission, and fast." Once everything was ready, he turned the doorknob and shouted, "Ready to go." Moving out, but just as the door cracked open, he saw Teacher Zhang standing there. He let out a gasp of surprise. However, the usually cheerful Teacher Zhang wore an unusually grave expression today. He could smell a conspiracy. He called out uncertainly, "Teacher Zhang?" Just then, Teacher Zhang's eyes were fixed on the suspicious gear in his hands. Gao Ning knew his arm to the teeth look was more than enough to alarm someone, so he could only offer a sheepish smile to brush it off. After all, they say a smile can bring you good luck. Unable to hide his curiosity, Teacher Zhang asked in a bewildered voice, "Gao Ning, what in the world are you trying to do?" But this was Gao Ning they were talking about, a natural-born liar. He instantly slipped into the role of a model student. He replied with a brilliant smile, "Good morning, Teacher Zhang. I'm just getting ready for school." Teacher Zhang took out a handkerchief to wipe the sweat from his forehead. With the exasperated look of a helpless educator, he sighed. "Going to school with a hammer?" He sounded unconvinced. Gao Ning immediately put on a dramatic performance, his face a perfect mask of wounded innocence. He held up the hammer and explained, "Yeah, the other day on the way to school, I saw this big rock. It looked pretty dangerous, so I was getting ready to go smash it to pieces." "Teacher Zhang, didn't you always say that to build a future, you first have to pave the way?" Next, he switched hands, holding up a wrench. He continued his tall tale with feigned earnestness. Anyone would praise him as the youth of the year for this, right? Anyone witnessing this would have to call him the model student of the year. And this wrench? You know me, sir. I'm our school's unofficial handyman. So it's totally normal for me to carry a wrench around, just in case. His lies were truly seamless, leaving no room for anyone to argue. Teacher Zhang went along with it. "And let me guess, this shovel is for digging up pavement?" Gao Ning seized the opportunity. He immediately agreed. "Exactly. You're amazing, Teacher Zhang. You figured out my whole plan. In one go, this shovel is for digging up dirt to fix the road." The two of them hadn't been chatting for long when the men with him began to show their impatience. Teacher Zhang glanced over his shoulder, his expression tense. He had almost been taken in by his student's diligent act. Thinking of what was about to happen, he couldn't help but let out a heavy sigh. "Gao Ning, you can forget about fixing the road for now. You need to come with me." As if on cue, the men behind him moved forward. They suddenly stormed the house and surrounded him, completely cutting off any path of escape. Teacher Zhang knew full well that Gao Ning was being framed. But as a teacher, he was powerless to do anything but accept it. He was even being forced to help them. Gao Ning stared at the hostile faces surrounding him, his brows furrowed. "Coming for me this early in the morning. They're faster than I expected. Helpless against a greater power." Teacher Zhang was filled with shame toward his student. He spoke hesitantly. "Gao Ning, you're my student. Since 10th grade, I've been your homeroom teacher. I know what kind of person you are. I know you would never do anything wrong." But before he could finish, Gao Ning packed his expedition gear into his backpack and turned to comfort him. "It's all right, sir. Let's go." Teacher Zhang just assumed that Gao Ning was putting on a brave face. He quickly grabbed his shoulder to reassure him. "It's okay. I'll go with you and explain everything." It'll all be fine. Thanks to Gao Ning's cooperation, the escort went off without a hitch. Gao Ning was flanked by two of the men. As they walked, his mind was already racing, trying to figure out a way to handle this. He had to get through this ordeal. How am I going to get out of this? A little over 10 minutes later, they arrived at the Golden Hotel without a hitch. It was hard to believe that after such a huge commotion, the place was still running as if nothing had happened. He was escorted all the way to the conference room. Even as he walked through the door, someone was there to open it for him. Talk about treatment fit for a man on death row. When he stepped inside, Tian Xiong and his men had a welcoming party all set up for him. All the key players were already there. Tian Xiong was sitting at the head of the table. Seeing that the guest of honor had arrived, he stood up to begin the interrogation. Is that him? The cashier quickly got out of her seat and answered nervously. Yes, that's him. But he didn't bother to hear the rest and cut her off with a wave of his hand. That's all I need to know. Tian Xiong walked up to him and began his performance. It wasn't clear how he did it, but his forehead turned a convincing shade of red. His brow furrowed so deeply it looked like a monkey's backside. He glared at him as if he wanted to eat him alive and began a rapid-fire interrogation. You're Gao Nong, correct? Do you know why we brought you here? He didn't rush to answer, taking a moment to survey the room. It wasn't just the hotel staff. The administration from number 3 high school was here too. He knew instantly that there was more to this than met the eye. This whole setup was clearly prearranged. The odds were stacked against a commoner like him. Gao Nong closed his eyes, steadied his breathing, and began to strategize. 99% of people in this situation would start thinking about an alibi. Or maybe they'd try to stay calm, playing dumb to deflect suspicion. A moment later, his eyes snapped open, shining brightly. The overwhelming confidence of a top student radiated through the room. But, am I a normal person? In a flash, Gao Nong suddenly ripped off his backpack and threw it aside, all with a beatific smile, as if granting salvation to the masses. Tian Xiong had no idea what kind of stunt he was trying to pull, but that didn't stop him from wanting to wave his banner of righteousness. Before he could even make a move, Gao Nong lunged forward, grabbed his leg, and started wailing at the top of his lungs. Just like a child, he threw all shame to the wind and began his theatrical groveling. Lieutenant Sheen, please don't kill me. I was wrong. I did it. It was all me. Principal, please don't expel me. I know what I did was wrong. Please, I'm begging you, don't expel me. I'll never do it again. This display left Tian Xiong utterly baffled. Huh? Is he confessing? A performance worthy of an Oscar. Tian Xiong couldn't stand this pathetic display any longer. He shot him a look of utter contempt. His patience completely gone as he roared. Can't you show a little backbone? I'm not even asking you to fight back. But at least, try to argue your case a little. The soldiers under his command were thinking the same thing. They all swallowed hard and silently judged. This is supposed to be the top student? So much for being some kind of elite academic prodigy. The students these days are just getting worse and worse. The principal, probably worried that he would tarnish the school's reputation, hurriedly slammed his hand on the table and yelled, Gao Nong, be a man. The most important thing is to take responsibility for your actions. Have some integrity. Now, tell us everything you did. If there's any part of the story you think is wrong, you can explain it. As for Tangda, it was another story entirely. Seeing how pathetic Gao Nong was acting, he was gloating inside. He even put on a fake, righteous act to advise him. That's right. Gao Nong, hurry up and confess to what you did. A good student is one who knows when they're wrong and is willing to change. Worried that his act wasn't dramatic enough, the man even walked up and patted him on the shoulder. He whispered, like a master strategist confiding in his general. Why don't you start by telling me everything you've done? He might have looked meek on the outside, but his mind was razor sharp. Gao Nong latched onto the single slip-up in Tangda's words. Tell me everything. Could it be they haven't made a deal with Tang Wei yet? Or did something happen to him? Was he killed by Xinning? Tangda didn't suspect a thing. He was even grinning from ear to ear. He might as well have carved his intentions right onto his face. Tangda's expression completely confirmed Gao Ning's suspicions. Once he understood his opponent's objective, he quickly figured out a counter-strategy. Tangda is probably here to find a scapegoat. If Tang Wei is already dead, then Tangda's search for a scapegoat is meaningless. He suddenly buried his face in his hands and started sobbing. a move that was completely off script. Leaving Tangda utterly stunned, Gao Nung lunged forward and clung tightly to Tangda's leg and started wailing. His tears and snot smeared all over the man's pant leg. It's true. It's true. I let down the principal, the vice principal, and Mr. Zhang too. I never should have tried to cheat the system. I shouldn't have gone to that hotel to find Lieutenant Qin. I shouldn't have tried to pull strings. Of all the possible answers that could have come out of his mouth, this was something Tang Da could never have expected in a million years. All of their carefully planned scenarios went up in smoke. This couldn't help but leave him flustered. Wait a minute. Student Gao Nung. Just calm down and tell me what's going on. You said you wanted to pull strings with Lieutenant Qin? While still clinging to Tangda's leg, Gao Nung spun a completely fabricated tale. The more he tried to explain himself, the darker the faces of his interrogators became. I'm saying Lieutenant Qin wouldn't let me pull any strings. Oh no, that's not right. I mean, I haven't actually pulled any strings with Lieutenant Qin yet. The point is, I've let down the principal and all my teachers. The more Tian Xiong listened, the more it reminded him of Tang Hui's amorous assault. And so, his embarrassment turned to fury, and he roared. Are you messing with me, you little brat? Am I asking you about pulling strings right now? He grabbed her by the collar and bellowed. What I want to know is why you went to the Golden Hotel to rent a room by the hour. With a look of utter innocence, Gao Nung looked as bewildered as a child. He answered in a high-pitched voice. I rented the room by the hour to pull strings. Tian Xiong's rage nearly overwhelmed all reason. He yanked Gao Nung closer. His voice strained as if to shatter his eardrums. Lies. Who the hell were you trying to pull strings with? With tears welling in his eyes, Gao Nung looked straight into his. He allowed a soft breath. With the lieutenant, playing the part of a pure, innocent victim, he made their entire line of questioning seem ridiculous. The more he acted, the more he got into character. The more he explained, the more detailed his story became. I wanted to get on good terms with Lieutenant Qin before the college entrance exams. That way, I might have a better shot at getting into the military academy. After I rented the room at the hotel, I didn't even get to meet Lieutenant Qin. So Tian Xiong's head throbbed, and he tried to tune it out. But the more he listened, the more his blood— You just what? His face was flushed from crying. His voice had also grown hoarse. To make his words more convincing, he even wove in a bit of the truth. I just left. It was time to check out, and I didn't have the money to rent the room any longer. Besides, my mom is waiting for me to come home for dinner. I had no idea you guys would investigate something like this. He rambled on for what felt like an eternity. Gao Nung rubbed his face, right into Tangda's pant leg, wailing pathetically. I swear I'll never try to pull strings again. Please, don't disqualify me from the college entrance exam. Tangda was completely flustered. He couldn't help but think. He must be seriously regretting picking me to be his scapegoat right about now. Gao Nung, stop crying. You went to the Golden Hotel last night and spent 40 alliance credits. It couldn't have just been to pull some strings. No, that's not it. You're on good terms with Lieutenant Qin, aren't you? Also, could you please let go of my leg? The surrounding soldiers watched the spectacle, their jaws practically on the floor. Even so, they found themselves subconsciously believing his pathetic act. A coward like that wants to get into a military academy? In his dreams. That's a place for people with spirit and bodies of steel. How could they ever accept a wimp like him? Seeing this, the principal of 3rd High School knew the plan to frame Gao Nung had completely fallen apart. He let out a long sigh. Little did they know, this cowardly, despicable person was silently mocking every single one of them. Contempt? Yeah, that's exactly what I want. I don't just want you all to look down on me. Not just you. I want to fool everyone who isn't even in this room. And most importantly, I need Xinning, whoever is watching this from some other room, to despise me, just as he'd calculated. Xinninger was watching everything unfold on a monitor. Everything was going exactly according to his plan. As a major in the Alliance, a peerless genius, a superior being like Xinning, how could she possibly live with the stain of being knocked unconscious and having her reputation tarnished? Especially when the one who did it was such a pathetic, gutless coward. After watching the charade for a while, Xinninger's face soured with dissatisfaction. Click. Is my pride as a major completely worthless? The principal, Li He, quickly intervened to stop the display from further tarnishing the school's honor. All right, Gao Nung, get up. We all know you want to get into the military academy. But this business of pulling strings can never happen again. Understand? Gao Nung was still clinging tightly to Tangda's leg. He meekly replied, "Yes, sir, I understand. Thank you, principal." He then turned to put pressure on Tian Xiong, publicly defending Gao Nung. "Lieutenant Qin, this whole situation is perfectly clear. To be honest, this boy, Gao Nung, has been a model student for years. I believe this is all just a big misunderstanding." At Li's words, Gao Nung let go, and Tangda immediately scrambled away. He darted over to an armchair. Leaning back with a smug look, he tried to wash his hands of the whole affair. "Principal Li, I'm with you on this one. I also don't think there's any way Gao Nung could have committed a crime. But, well, the military is already here, so we should probably just let Lieutenant Qin conduct his investigation, don't you think?" Li hesitated, but Tian Xiong cut him off with a grim expression. His tone was lecturing. "Principal Li, you're an educator. It's natural to hold out hope for your students. I can understand that. However, try to pull a fast one to dodge an interrogation right in front of me, Qin Tianxiong. It's not that easy." He had truly had enough of Gao Nang's pathetic whining. He spun around, grabbed him by the collar, and yanked him to his feet. Baring his teeth, he growled like a wild animal. "You little brat, have you ever heard how the military conducts an interrogation?" But before he could even make a move, Gao Nung collapsed to the ground all on his own. He clutched his stomach with both hands. His face contorted in pain. He let out an ear-splitting groan, and to top off his professional performance, he spat a mouthful of pre-stored rat's blood from the corner of his mouth. For the first time in his life, Tian Xiong found himself facing such a pro-level scammer. It left him momentarily speechless. However, a moment later, Tian Xiong's aggressive demeanor returned in full force. He roared, feeling utterly wronged. "You little brat, are you trying to play dead in front of me? I didn't lay a damn finger on you." But his menacing glare only made things worse. At least, as far as Qing Ping was concerned, it was proof positive that Tian Xiong had laid hands on the boy. He stepped forward, his voice sharp with accusation. "How dare you assault one of my students right in front of me?" Tian Xiong's imposing presence faltered. He stammered, trying to defend himself. This brat, he's just faking it." But seeing Gao Nang's pathetic condition, who would possibly believe him? Qing Ping stepped between them, shielding the boy. "Haven't you done enough? Are you still trying to use violence on an innocent student? You're a military man. Shouldn't you, of all people, operate based on evidence?" Teacher Zhang rushed over to help him up. He said, trying to console him, "It's all right now. Without any proof, we refuse to accept these accusations." Tian Xiong's brutish behavior had cost him the moral high ground, and so he could only grit his teeth, unable to argue back. This brat showed up at the Golden Hotel to rent a room in the dead of night. His intentions are obviously suspicious." Hearing such an incredibly flimsy excuse, Qing Ping scoffed. He fired off a series of questions. "Renting a room is your evidence? Don't you think that's a little ridiculous? Besides, did Gao Nung even know who was in the room next door?" At that moment, the receptionist timidly raised her hand. "He didn't know. At the time, I was the one who told him Lieutenant Qin was in the next room." Hearing this, Tian Xiong shot her a death glare. In an instant, that dagger-like gaze passed over her, making the receptionist freeze in terror. But she couldn't bring herself to side with them against her conscience. The receptionist mustered all her courage and declared loudly, "The truth is the truth. I can testify for Gao Nung." Now that there was a credible witness, Qing Ping grew even more impatient. He raised his voice, his tone stern. "Lieutenant Qin, did you hear that? Do you have any other evidence? If not, then on behalf of the entire leadership of 3rd Senior High School, I demand that you release him immediately. With things having come to this, what other evidence could he possibly have?" He could only stand there completely stunned, having just narrowly escaped. Gao Nung let his tense expression relax. He managed a weak, apologetic smile. "Sorry about this, Lieutenant Qin. With your skills, you probably already figured out I used a marrow-cleansing pill to break through my physical limits. Playing the victim was my only way out. Just when it seemed like things would end there, a soldier burst through the door, out of breath. Captain, this turned out to be more bad news for Gao Nung." The soldier stood at attention, saluted, and began his report. "Tang Weiyuan, and Ah-Si are awake. The situation suddenly took a dramatic turn. All eyes in the room snapped toward the door. The soldier, seemingly oblivious to the room's reaction, continued his report. "What's more, Captain," they both said. That before they entered the room, Gao Nung was already inside. Seeing that the advantage had suddenly swung back to his side, Tian Xiong glanced smugly at Gao Neng and smirked. To turn the tables completely, he made a booming request. "Tang Weiyuan and Ah-Si are awake. We might need to bring in Principal Tang. Principal Li, Teacher Zhang, please give us a moment." He and Tang were already in cahoots. Of course, he gladly agreed. Naturally, if something like this happened in my family, Tang De, wouldn't be able to show my face in public. Old Li, and you, Old Zhang, let's step outside. We have to trust the military. Trust in Lieutenant Qin. Isn't that right? Since Tang De had brought up the military as a shield, Qin Ping couldn't object. Even so, he still issued a warning. Lieutenant Qin is a military officer. I trust the military. But until this matter is cleared up, I absolutely will not allow any of you to lay a hand on my student. Tian Xiong was surprisingly agreeable. He gave his assurance. I understand. I won't lay a finger on Gao Nung. To lend credibility to the proceedings that would follow, he even personally dismissed his subordinates. The rest of you, leave as well. Leave a few men to guard the door. Bring Tang Yanwei and Ah-Si in here. The others didn't object. They left the room one by one. A few seconds later, the once crowded room suddenly became quiet. The atmosphere in the room grew still, thick with danger. Feeling the goddess of victory waving at him, Tang's mind was at ease. He calmly sat down and said politely, "Student Gao Nung, let's just wait a moment." Seeing the entire, carefully arranged chessboard suddenly thrown into chaos, Gao Nung felt his nerves stretch taut. I already played the victim card. I even coughed up blood. I barely managed to clear my name. And now Tang Yanwei is awake? This can't be happening. The time I have to come up with a plan is measured in seconds. It's getting harder and harder to stay calm. What do I do? Is this it for me? Right now, he was like a fish on the chopping block. Every second of waiting felt like a year. Not long after, the door to the room slowly opened. When he saw the state of the two who entered, he couldn't suppress a smirk. Both Tang Yanwei and Ah-Si had to be helped into the room. Their bodies were wrapped in bandages like mummies. Especially Ah-Si. He was completely covered, with only his eyes showing. As soon as he entered the room, Tang Yanwei pointed directly at Gao Nung. "Gao Nung," he shouted his accusation. "Lieutenant Qin, it was him. It was Gao Nung. When we went in, Major Shun had already been knocked unconscious by him. We were only trying to save Major Shun." Ah-Si nodded furiously in agreement. Based solely on Tang Yanwei's one-sided testimony, Tian Xiong immediately turned his focus on Gao Nung. It was a completely different attitude from when the receptionist had testified. He said, "Student Gao Nung, do you have any explanation for these accusations?" He stuck to his persona of an adorable, clueless pretty boy. He gave an awkward laugh and scratched his head, replying naively, "Who's Major Shun? I haven't even been inside Xinyuer's room. How would I know anything about some Major Shun?" But that alone wasn't enough to convict him. He could only say in a strange, sardonic tone, "It seems Gao Nung really doesn't know." Tang Yanwei continued his testimony, while Ah-Si could only nod along. "Last night, he really did go into Major Shun's room. He was on Major Shun's bed. We even fought him. He kicked me around. Right, Ah-Si?" But then, instead of playing along, Tian Xiong suddenly turned and challenged him. "Are you saying the two of you are trying to frame him?" He slammed his fist on the table and roared. Silence. Enraged, Tian Xiong stalked forward and grabbed the man by the collar. He snarled, his teeth clenched. "You drugged Major Shun to suppress her powers. If Gao Nung had been in his room, he would have been knocked unconscious too. And if that were the case, how could an unconscious Gao Nung possibly have fought back against you too?" Then he whipped around, his face contorted with fury as he confronted him. "Gao Nung, isn't that right?" Gao Nung stuck to his script of playing dumb. "I don't know anything. I didn't see anything." He reflexively waved his hands. I don't understand. What drug are you talking about?" But that was a fatal mistake. It was the opening Tian Xiong had been waiting for. A sickening grin spread across his face. "So, you really don't know, huh?" He let go of Wei and latched onto the slip-up to press his attack. "But you were in the room right next to Major Shun's. With all that noise, how dare you claim you heard nothing? He quickly closed the distance, relentlessly backing him into a corner, giving him absolutely no room to breathe. Gao Nung, you're lying. Gao Nung, do you really think you're clever enough to deny everything? You're dead wrong. Your story is full of holes. The situation was spiraling out of control. But of course, the system decided to pour gasoline on the fire. An announcement chimed in his head. Host's heart rate detected at 139 BPM, unlocking a suppression mission. Benefactor, in life, there is nothing that cannot be done. Only things are not done. Child, you cannot continue to act so recklessly. You must face this challenge head-on. That is the path you must take. As if determined to ensure his death was as miserable as possible, the system mercilessly dropped another mission on him. Mission, within 1 minute you must shout, I'm the one who did it with Shun Yu, to complete the mission. Penalty for failure. Demotion by 1 rank. Countdown initiated. 59 seconds. The mission clock. Once started would never stop. 58 seconds on the clock. Gao Nung, already being crushed by the weight of the interrogation, was dealt another crippling blow by the system. He finally snapped and cursed under his breath. My ass. In the interrogation room, Tian Xiong was determined to pin the crime on Gao Nung. He relentlessly ramped up the pressure. If Gao Nung didn't do something fast, he would be completely trapped. Meanwhile, the system, far from helping, was fanning the flames. The countdown timer ticked down, a mere 45 seconds left before his execution. At this point, he had no choice but to drop the facade and show his true colors. That's right. I was lying. But aren't those two lying too? Before Tian Xiong could even react, he pointed straight at the two Wei brothers. He demanded fiercely, you're trying to help them get away with it, aren't you? His sudden counterattack left Tian Xiong momentarily stunned and unable to refute him, having exposed the man's intentions. Gao Nung pressed his advantage. If that's not the case, then why are you so focused on pinning this on me? Is it just because I happened to rent a room at the hotel? Just then, he saw he only had 39 seconds left. Feigning agitation, he shouted, you already planned this. With Principal Tang, you were going to use me as a scapegoat, weren't you? Getting a hotel room? In the surveillance room. Ewer had clearly witnessed this unexpected turn of events as well. Her expression grew serious and thoughtful. With his explosive acting skills, Chao Ning aggressively accused Qin Tianxiong. The truth is, you conspired with Principal Tang. You just wanted to make me their scapegoat. The accusation hit a nerve. He instinctively raised his fist and bellowed. You rotten brat. How dare you spout such nonsense? Realizing the man was falling right into his trap, Chao Nung suddenly dropped to the floor. He screamed at the top of his lungs. Don't you come near me. Are you trying to kill me to silence me? Rage had completely clouded Qin Tianxiong's judgment. His face twisted with savagery. He tried to defend himself. Silence you? What the hell are you talking about? I'm a respectable. Of course, he wasn't about to let Qin Tianxiong finish his sentence. Instead, he immediately started screaming for help. Murder. He's trying to kill me to shut me up. Is anybody there? Help me. At this point, he only had 25 seconds left to complete his mission. As expected, the man couldn't stand this kind of weak behavior. He finally lost his temper, lunging forward and grabbing him by the collar. Shut your mouth, or I'll tear you to pieces. Hearing Chao Ning's cries for help, Qing Ping and Teacher Zhang burst through the door. He rushed over to him and asked with concern, Chao Nung, are you all right? The moment he walked in, Qing Ping saw Qin Tianxiong grabbing Chao Nung by the collar and threatening him. It looked exactly like a student being assaulted. He was instantly enraged. His face dark with fury, he rushed forward to protect his student. Qin Tianxiong, you're a first lieutenant, and yet you go back on your word? To brutally attack a student? Teacher Zhang went to check on him. Seeing his dazed and terrified expression, he couldn't help but feel a pang of pity. He asked cautiously, Chao Nung, are you okay? Are you hurt? Chao Nung skillfully feigned terror. He slapped the teacher's hand away and clutched his head. This only made Teacher Zhang even more concerned. Chao Nung, you. Then, he wrapped his arms around himself and gasped for breath like a fish out of water. Anyone who saw him would assume he had just endured something horrific. Seeing Chao Nung act so incredibly defensive, the teachers treated him with even greater care. Qing Ping even took the initiative to reassure him. Chao Nong, you don't need to be afraid. The vice principal and teacher Zhang are here. We won't let anyone hurt you. Little did they know that this entire display was a calculated setup, a stepping stone for the mission assigned by the system. If I'm going to do this, I have to go all the way. And I have to make it a damn good show. But time is running out. There's no other choice. At this moment, the countdown timer showed only 5 seconds remaining. Having decided to go all out, he began to change his expression. This is getting good. I can't wait to see what happens next. Then, Chao Nong casually raised a single, elegant middle finger. With one hand on his hip, he stuck out his tongue tauntingly. He said, "You all want to frame me, right? My life's already a total mess anyway. You want a confession, don't you? Fine, I confess. That's right. You're not seeing things." Our protagonist just switched roles from a terrified teenager to a complete psycho. His performance was flawless. He brazenly admitted his guilt. "I'm the one who did that to Shen Ning. What are you going to do about it? What can any of you do to me?" No one saw this coming. The entire room was frozen solid. Even the man dead set on pinning the blame on Gao Nong was stunned, as if flash frozen. He asked again, his voice laced with disbelief. "So you confess?" He was met with nothing but pure arrogance and a sneer. "That's right. I did it." The words had barely left his lips when a hand shot out. Mr. Zhang, fearing Gao Nong would blurt out something even more reckless, he quickly clamped a hand over his mouth. After managing to restrain Gao Nong for the moment, he turned to face Tian Xiong, his face contorted with rage. He snarled, enunciating every single word. "You're insane. Insane. Gao Nong has lost his mind. Did your military really drive a kid to this point?" Yuan Wei's teammate, seemingly oblivious to the situation, nudged him in the back, urging, "Hurry up. He confessed. Arrest him now, and let us go." He obediently let his homeroom teacher hold him back. Then, a familiar notification chimed at his head. "Congratulations, host, for completing the mission." The announcement was just a formality before the reward automatically activated. A giant prize will materialize in his mind's eye. The system cheerfully announced. Spinning the prize wheel, the needle spun wildly for a moment before landing on a space marked Eye of Deprivation. The reward's name sounded incredibly powerful. His eyes, Gao Ning's eyes, filled with anticipation. The system exclaimed, "Oh my!" But his hope didn't last long. The system immediately doused him with a bucket of cold water. "Congratulations, host, on receiving the Eye of Deprivation. Trial version. Duration, 5 days. An introduction panel appeared next. The Eye of Deprivation can strip away one of the 4 great ancient arts, the art of disguise, and see through all forms of camouflage. Disguise, and all camouflage. Once it's laid bare, you can see through to the true nature of any power." Hearing this, he was absolutely furious, but there was nothing he could do about it. A trial version? I risked my damn life for a 5-day trial. So how do I make this trial version the real deal? As if it could read Gao Ning's mind. The system shot back with merciless sarcasm. "Pay up. Use your brain, dumbass. How do you expect to get the full version without paying?" Its shamelessness drove Gao Nong over the edge. He cursed under his breath. "This damn system. You piece of shit." Seeing Gao Ning's sudden outburst, Mr. Zhang quickly pinned him down, trying to soothe him. "Gao Nong, don't say another word. Just stop talking. This is all my fault." Even Yuer, watching from the surveillance room, was completely taken in and began to worry. Has he lost his mind? She then called for her subordinate. First Lieutenant Shun. The soldier acknowledged the order. "Yes, ma'am." Yuer's eyes remained glued to the monitor. As she gave her next order, "Get Dr. Wang. Tell him to get over here immediately." A short while later, inside the conference room of the Golden Hotel, Gao Nong, still fuming over the system's taunts, had retreated into his own world. He had no energy to pay attention to the argument between Principal Li and Tian Xiong. The principal demanded in a stern voice, "Lieutenant Qin, as the head of this school, I am responsible for my students' safety. I'm taking Gao Nong to the hospital now." However, Tian Xiong was being completely unreasonable. He stood his ground, blocking the way. "Principal Li, you are obstructing a military investigation. I never touched Gao Nong. You can check the surveillance footage yourself." Hearing such a ridiculous reason, Principal Li shot back. "Are you telling me that if I had just left, I would have come back to find my student gone for good. Tian Xiong, whose credibility was now at 0, could only resort to pulling rank. Principal Li, you have to trust the military. But Li Qingping, despite his age, was no fool. He decided to press the issue. It's precisely because I trusted the military that I let you handle him. Only to have you drive Gao Neng insane. Tian Xiong was rendered speechless, just as the two were locked in a stalemate. Second Lieutenant Shun cut in. Captain. Tian Xiong looked at the men who had just arrived with him, confused. He asked, Second Lieutenant Shun, and Dr. Wang, why are you two? Second Lieutenant Shun, his face an emotionless mask, replied with official formality. These are Major Shun's orders. Then, he turned his gaze to the newly arrived doctor and said flatly, Dr. Wang, please examine Gao Neng's current condition. Dr. Wang strode casually into the room, saying with a relaxed smile, All right, let's have a little checkup, shall we? The situation was now escalating beyond his control, making the hairs on the back of Gao Neng's neck stand on end. Dr. Wang noticed the other patients in the room, wrapped in bandages like mummies, and added offhandedly, Oh, and you too as well. Let's check you both out while we're at it. The comedic duo hadn't expected to be included. Stunned, they cried out, Us? Why do we have to be examined too? Second Lieutenant Shun cleared his throat to explain on the doctor's behalf. It seemed he was in on it too. Here's the situation. You both sustained head injuries. When the head is injured, it's possible to experience hallucinations. Therefore, we need to verify that your statements are true. We ask for your cooperation. Just a little neurological evaluation. Yuan Hui started to panic. He hastily refused, trying desperately to pin the blame. We're not doing any tests. There's nothing wrong with our minds. Gao Neng did this. He already confessed. A C, in the background with his mouth bandaged shut, could only let out a few muffled grunts. Seeing his uncooperative and defiant attitude, Second Lieutenant Chin's expression darkened instantly. He warned in an icy tone, This is an order from Major Shun. Are you trying to defy a military decision? Once he brought the military into it, who would dare utter a word of protest? In any case, Tang certainly wasn't going to object. If it's a military decision, then of course, we must cooperate. Doctor, please proceed with the examination. Dr. Wang habitually pushed up his glasses, a benevolent smile on his kind face. He assured them, Everyone, rest assured. After my training in neuroscience, I Wang Jiajia, have seen countless patients with neurological disorders, and I have never misdiagnosed a single one. Li Qingping first glanced at Gao Neng's dazed expression. Then, feeling uneasy, turned to ask the doctor, what exactly does this examination entail? Dr. Wang replied with a casual confidence, stating with utter certainty, It's very simple. I ask one question. If they can answer it, it proves their minds are sound. If they can't, then there's definitely something wrong with them. The unbelievably simple procedure made Li Qingping skeptical. It's that simple. Sensing the principal's disbelief, Dr. Wang showed a hint of displeasure. He asked pointedly, Oh, Principal Li, how dare you question my professional expertise? Seeing his extreme reaction, Qingping forced a laugh and tried to explain. Dr. Wang, you've misunderstood. That's not what I meant. But Dr. Wang, once provoked, was determined to make his point. He was burning with the desire to prove himself. This isn't some misunderstanding. This is a matter of my professionalism. Although I, Wang Cha-Cha, primarily perform surgery in the surgical ward, I have a senior colleague with experience. Over 40 years of it at a psychiatric hospital. Suddenly, a loud clatter echoed through the room. Qingping's eyes shot toward the source of the sound, only to see a meat cleaver and a massive bone saw. Dr. Wang, without a hint of shame, casually tucked the highly suspicious instruments into his white lab coat. As I was saying, I usually preside over surgeries in the surgical ward of the military hospital. That's why I always carry my surgical instruments on me. It's a sign of a true professional. His words and his actions were completely out of sync. Anyone who didn't know better would have mistaken him for a pork butcher. Basically, he wasn't the least bit convincing. Sensing the doubtful stares around him, Dr. Wang abruptly changed the subject. Enough talk. Line up for me. Now. He signaled that the examination was about to begin. Gao Neng and the others stood before him, not daring to move a muscle. Gaoneng was caught between a rock and a hard place. A torrent of thoughts rushed through his mind. If they actually test me and find out I'm insane, I'll be locked up in a mental hospital for sure. This mission is time-sensitive. I don't have time for this crap. But if I refuse the test, then my confession from earlier will be taken as the truth. There was so little time to think. Gaoneng couldn't help but consider the most extreme options. I wonder if I can get out of this by faking amnesia. Dr. Wong stood on the other side of a glass panel, holding his surgical tools with a practiced professional grip. He grinned like a mad scientist and spoke. Now, I'm going to ask you a question. All three of you are to answer. Understood? The room was dead silent. He began. I want you to imagine something. You're being chased by a killer. The three of you run into a bathroom. Inside, there's a bathtub completely full of water. There's a secret door at the bottom of the tub. Only by opening that door can you find a way to escape. But the door will only open when the tub is completely drained of water. Only then can you get through. Next to the tub, there's a basin and a spoon. You must make the correct choice. Now, answer me. The first one to answer was Yuan Gue. He eagerly shot his hand up, yelling, "Me first. I choose the basin." At his answer, Dr. Wong threw the meat cleaver. He chuckled. Luckily, Yuan Gue managed to dodge just in time, refusing to accept the doctor's diagnosis. He started wailing. "Principal, I'm not crazy. You're a quack. Who sent you? Dad, help me. Dad, tell them I'm not crazy." Dr. Wong stated matter-of-factly. The mentally ill never admit that they're ill. Classic denial. You're practically admitting it yourself, seeing that the basin was the wrong choice. Asi figured the other option had to be the right one. He quickly raised his hand. "Then I choose the spoon." But the moment the words left his mouth, a saw was pressed against his neck. Asi's mind was just a sea of question marks. Meanwhile, Dr. Wong looked absolutely delighted. He laughed heartily and made his judgment. "You're crazy, too." Everyone else in the room watched the scene unfold, finding it all incredibly bizarre. For the first time, they all shared the exact same thought. They asked themselves, what in the world is going on? As of now, 2 contestants had been eliminated. Dr. Wong, carrying his weapon. Oh no, his medical instruments. Approached Xiao Nung to demand an answer. "You're the only one left." Student Xiao Nung. "Which will it be, the bucket or the spoon?" As a true top student, Xiao Nung didn't show the slightest hint of panic, answering calmly. "I choose neither." Dr. Wong had encountered this type of answer before, so he matter-of-factly added more conditions. "Oh, then what do you plan to do?" "Let me tell you, breaking the tub is not an option, and you can't move it either." Overcome with anxiety, Qing Ping lost his composure and couldn't stop himself from lashing out. "That's enough, Dr. Wong. This question of yours is impossible." He never expected that in the very next second, he would hear Chao Neng's answer. "I'd pull the drain plug." Dr. Wong didn't give his diagnosis right away. Instead, he just smiled. He stepped closer to Chao Neng and asked one more time, "Pull the drain plug. Are you sure?" He stood by his answer. "I'm sure." The entire room held its breath, waiting for the diagnosis. And the most nervous of all were the comedic duo who had just been judged mentally unstable. Dr. Wong put his weapon away. It was the first time he had used his bare hand to pat a patient on the shoulder. Then, he gave him a thumbs up and offered his sincere congratulations. "All right, your mind is perfectly normal. In such a high-pressure situation, a mentally ill person would choose to bail the water out of the tub. Only a normal person would think to pull the drain plug. You have no mental issues." Once everything was settled, Dr. Wong turned to the others in the room and spoke. "Does anyone have any objections?" Xiao Yichin responded with a round of applause. "None at all. Dr. Wong is truly a professional." A look of satisfaction and agreement was clear on Qing Ping's face. "That's right. Dr. Wong is incredibly professional." In contrast, only those who had been diagnosed with an illness were dissatisfied with the result. Wei Booping started cursing loudly. "This isn't fair. You're a quack. You never said we could pull the drain plug." "I'm not crazy. You're the crazy one." Normally, it wouldn't be an issue. But once the matter touched upon his area of expertise, Dr. Wong became a completely different person, utterly ruthless. He pressed the knife against the young man's neck, threatening him. A patient with mental problems not only refuses to admit they're sick, but also accuses others of being insane. "Your condition is quite severe. Now, are you going to admit it or not? Yuan Hui was scared out of his wits. Weeping, he screamed for his life. Dad, help me. But this time, even the father who had always spoiled Wei booping rotten didn't come to his defense. In fact, he gave him a hard slap across the face. Even Tangda was wary of Dr. Wang. He grabbed Wei by the collar, yanked it back, and roared, "You are mentally ill. Do you understand? You are mentally ill." Yuan Hui covered his face as tears streamed down. They just kept falling. The weakling. He tried to protest, but his words trailed off into a confused haze. "I'm not crazy. No, I'm not crazy. I am crazy. I'm not crazy. Wait, I'm crazy." This was a solution Tang Da had never wanted, but circumstances had forced his hand. He turned to Tian Xiong and Zhong Yiqin for their opinion. "My son has been diagnosed with a mental illness. I'm not sure what the next steps are." Tian Xiong was powerless to help. He half closed his eyes and answered clearly. "First, take him to the military hospital for treatment. Once his condition improves, the military will proceed with the judgment." After his son was escorted away by military personnel, Tang Da was seething with indignation. He wanted to drag everyone else down with him. In that case, what's going to happen to Gao Nong? His psych evaluation just came back clean. That means his earlier confession was... However, his scheme was foiled when Xiao Chen spoke up. Major Shun has given an order. As long as Gao Nung passed the psychological evaluation, he's free to go home. Before Gao Nung could leave, Xiao Chen stopped him to give a few instructions. "Gao Nung, there's still a few loose ends we need your cooperation to investigate. Take this phone. Stay reachable 24/7. Got it?" Gao Nung happily accepted. All right. This unexpected gift made Gao Nung feel a flicker of suspicion. Shin Yuer is giving me a phone out of nowhere. He thought to himself, there's definitely something up. Even so, the situation didn't allow him to refuse. He can only play it by ear. No matter what, I'm about to get 10% of that 100,000. Plus, there's that primary grade Yon treasure. I just need to get stronger and fast. That's the only way I can truly protect myself. Meanwhile, in the surveillance room, Yuer was intently writing something down. It turned out, she was comparing her strength against his. On Gao Nang's evaluation sheet, the looks category sat proudly at the top with a perfect 100 points and the comment excellent. Right below, it was the acting skills category with a much lower score. A mere 59 points with a note, movie star. Next was IQ, which just barely passed at 60 points. And finally, strategy with a pathetically low score, just 2 points. In stark contrast, Shin Yuer's own scorecard revealed a boundless narcissism. She gave herself a perfect 100 for looks, a 99 for outstanding acting, a 99 for genius IQ, and a 99 for masterful strategy with a note, invincible under the heavens. After some comparison, Yuer's mind was filled with even more questions. My stats are way better than his. So how did I get knocked out? Could have been a dream? It must have been a dream. She gazed at what she considered her flawless reflection in the mirror, but she couldn't completely shake off her doubts. Was it a dream, or wasn't it? I'll know as soon as I test him a little. With her narcissism reaching a terminal stage, Yuer picked up a walkie-talkie and sent a signal. She whispered, "Gao Nong, tonight, I'm going to open your eyes. I'll show you what real acting is, and what a real IQ looks like." The signal from the walkie-talkie was immediately picked up by the phone in Gao Ning's pocket, as if his name had been called from thin air. He suddenly let out a sneeze. Gao Nung rubbed his nose, muttering with uncertainty. That came out of nowhere. Is someone talking trash about me? The young man's intuition was indeed incredibly sharp. Seeing him suddenly sneeze, Qing Ping walked over with a look of concern. "Gao Nung, are you catching a cold? Why don't you head home and get some rest? The college entrance exams are right around the corner. You can't afford to get sick now." Right now, in the principal's eyes, Gao Nung was nothing more than a fragile child reeling from a great trauma, and he couldn't help but worry. "Your house isn't that far from the school. It's on our way. We can give you a ride home." Gao Nung turned around, smiled, and waved goodbye. "Thank you, principal. I can get home on my own." The principal didn't insist. "All right then. Be careful on your way." He waited until Gao Ning's figure had disappeared into the distance. Only then did he let out a sigh and remark, "That kid, Gao Nung, his grades are excellent, but his combat skills are just too weak. It'll be tough for him to get into a top military university. But little did they know, the moment their model student was out of sight, he headed straight for the city's bustling nightlife district. As Gao Nung passed a bar, two hostesses rushed out to pull him in. Come on in and have some fun, handsome. He was all too familiar with this kind of hustle and knew exactly how to handle it. You got any guys in there with a six-pack, under 5% body fat, and weighing in at 100 kilograms? The girls froze. His cold expression and blunt tone made them shrink back. He deadpanned. Guess not, huh? Then get out of my way. I'm trying to have a good time. With that, he walked over to a taxi parked by the curb and stated his destination. Driver, the Northside Psychiatric Hospital. The driver gave him a heads up. Hey kid, it's 25 Federation credits to get there. You sure about this? Gao Nung countered. 15. The driver shook his head firmly. You can walk there yourself. He raised his offer to 16, but the driver stayed silent. Then he went up to 17, a hint of impatience in his voice. Not a credit more. Seeing that the price was reasonable enough, the driver finally nodded. Fine. Fine. You sure know how to haggle, kid. On the way, the driver's eyes fell on the backpack, which seemed bigger than the boy himself. He couldn't help but ask, It's so late, and you're lugging a bag that big? You going for a checkup or something? Gao Ning gave a curt reply. I'm just going sightseeing. Noticing he was still just a teenager, the driver couldn't resist offering a word of concern. Sightseeing? As far as I know, that whole northern area is a wasteland. Other than that hospital you're headed to, it's nothing but abandoned land. Kid, where exactly are you planning on sightseeing? Gao Nung pulled a mask over his face. As he answered, I'm going sightseeing at the psychiatric hospital. Hearing this, the driver's expression changed instantly. Terrified, he snapped his head forward, eyes glued to the road. Just then, a news alert came over the car's radio. We interrupt this program with a breaking news update. Recently, strange incidents have been reported in the vicinity of the Northside Psychiatric Hospital. 2 people have now been reported missing near the location. We urge all citizens traveling in the area to exercise extreme caution to avoid any unfortunate incidents. The broadcast ended just as the car came to a stop. The terrified driver had slammed on the brakes. Panic seized his heart. He cautiously glanced into the back seat, then quickly found an excuse to lower the fare. We're here. I can tell you're a special kind of person. A real prodigy, I'm sure of it. It must be fate that brought us together today. I'll just charge you 15 Federation credits. Gao Nung, completely unsuspecting, reached into his bag for the money. As he did, a hammer accidentally tumbled out. He still remembered his manners, though. That's real nice of you, sir. Thank you. The moment he saw the weapon, or rather, the work tool, the driver's terror intensified. All the color drained from his face. But the young man still hadn't realized how terrifying he looked. He innocently explained, Oh, this is just for road work. I saw a big rock by the hospital gate. It's in everyone's way, so I brought a hammer to flatten it. And yet, just as the explanation for the hammer left his lips, a wrench fell out right after. It was as if it was calling him a liar. The driver, paralyzed by fear, took it upon himself to find an excuse to ask, Is that for road work too? The young man bent down, picked up the wrench, and replied, Yeah, I brought this just in case the hammer doesn't work. The driver barely managed to choke back a scream. His legs were trembling uncontrollably, but he mustered all his courage to make a suggestion. Hey, my friend, it's getting a little stuffy in the car. Actually, you can get out first and pay me after. It's fine. Gao Neng thought the suggestion was reasonable, so he replied, You've got a point. All right, I'll get out first then. He leisurely placed one foot onto the pavement. The second Gao Neng and his backpack were safely on the side of the road. The car door slammed shut and the taxi shot off like an arrow. Gao Neng watched the taxi speed away. He raised his voice and called after it. Hey, mister, your fare. Seeing the driver flee as if he were being chased by a ghost. Gao Neng still couldn't comprehend the man's fear and could only mutter, What was that all about? Could it be that driver was a good person? That's right. He said something earlier about doing a good deed today. That driver really is a kind man. As his eyes followed the speeding taxi, another figure was watching him. It was Ning'er, perched on a state-of-the-art motorcycle. She glanced at his destination and began to formulate a plan. A psychiatric hospital. Well then, I'll show him what a textbook case of insanity really looks like. At that very moment, inside the magnificent Yuanhua villa owned by the Tang family. Tangda's furious roar echoed through the room. Zhong Weiqin, for what happened today, you will give me an explanation. He sat on a plush armchair, his face a mask of frustration and anger. If your abilities were so limited, I could have just found another partner to represent me. However, on the other end of the line, Tian Xiong sounded as if nothing was wrong. He spoke in a calm, flat voice. You're talking about Shunning. Tangda, this matter cannot be exposed. Not everyone in the alliance agreed to this partnership. At last, he was willing to reveal something. I already sounded her out once to see if she would cooperate with you all. She refused. Believe it or not, Ning has absolutely no intention of working with your three great powers. Hearing this, Tangda's expression turned to ice. Brother Tang, don't you dare try to scare me. Are you trying to say that the alliance isn't here to set things right, but to purge us? Tian Xiong laid out his terms with a chilling tone. I am confirming your suspicion. Therefore, you need to give me that thing. Now, proving your merit is your best option. But Tangda's faith in Tian Xiong had been shattered. He asked, his voice laced with suspicion. And how am I supposed to trust you? Tian Xiong replied coldly before hanging up. Believe me or don't. It's up to you. I've said enough. Tangda was about to negotiate further when the line went dead. Hello. Hello. He furiously hurled his phone to the ground. He whispered to himself, all bark but no bite. Is that any way to ask for a favor? Would it kill you to beg a little? If you had just begged me a little more, I would have given it to you. Immediately after, Tangda had already regained his composure, calmly reassuring himself. Patience, just a little longer. Qin Tianxiong will definitely come back begging. He was well aware of the value of the information he possessed. This was the source of his absolute confidence. After all, the intel he held was about the Purple Twins, somewhere in the Forsaken Lands. A mysterious figure, seated on the highest throne, spoke. Has Tangda revealed the intelligence on the Purple Twins yet? A dark elf knelt before the figure in absolute devotion. It reported respectfully. Not yet. It seems he hasn't negotiated favorable terms with the Alliance. If he had already handed it over to them, I would no longer be of any use to him. He wouldn't have let me go back. The mysterious figure issued a command. Then give him a little more pressure. As soon as he lets the Alliance's people into the factory, he'll have no other choice. The dark elf asked cautiously. My lord, I heard from Tangda that the Alliance is sending a major this time. The explosives in that factory. Should we prepare a bit more? The mysterious figure replied curtly. See to it. Back to the present. Inside a deserted psychiatric hospital, shrouded in the silence of the night. Ning, he was excitedly putting the finishing touches on her masterpiece of a face. She had also changed into a patient's uniform to better fit the atmosphere. To fully get into character, she intentionally messed up her once neat hair. A constant smile played on her lips as she prepared. No matter how you look at it, I'm a lunatic who could scare someone into wetting their pants in the middle of the night. Once everything was ready, Ning, he took out her walkie-talkie with its built-in locator to check it. Let's see. Gao Hanung still isn't here yet? As she waited in suspense, the sound of footsteps echoed. She quickly put away the walkie-talkie, ready for the impending scare. He's here. At that moment, Gao Nung was standing outside a room. His hand was already on the doorknob, poised to enter. Inside, Ning, he was hidden behind the door, waiting for the perfect moment to jump out. The instant the door creaked open, she lunged out to scare him. She hadn't checked to see if the person behind it was actually Gao Nung. And that was, to put it mildly, a poor decision. Because the person who walked in was a patient with a tall, brawny build. A powerful one. His face was covered in scars, and one eye was covered with a patch. He looked just like a ferocious pirate. So, instead of scaring someone else, she was the one who got the scare of her life, letting out a piercing scream. Ah! Perhaps because she possessed superpowers, her scream carried a devastating impact. It sent birds scattering for 100 miles. He hadn't even pushed the door open yet when he heard that horrifying scream. Considering where he was, he let out a sigh. Can't even get any peace and quiet at night. Dealing with crazy people really is a pain. As a result, the pirate-like patient was knocked out cold by her sonic blast. Scared out of his wits. Just his rotten luck. After that incident, Ning, he had learned her lesson. She took out her locator and muttered a complaint. I can't believe a real lunatic actually showed up. She looked at the device and realized they were a whole kilometer apart. She couldn't help but wonder. Huh? A toy factory? What's Gao Ning doing there? Meanwhile, inside the warehouse of a toy factory, he glanced around and clicked his tongue. How long has this place been abandoned? It's a total wreck. Then, he noticed the dried bloodstains, along with a sword and talismans scattered across the floor. All signs of a fierce battle that had taken place here. Even so, he ignored it all to focus on his main objective. Who cares? Tonight, I'm taking a hammer to all of them. He left the suspicious traces behind him and casually ventured deeper inside. As Gao Ning strode forward, a sudden cold gust of wind swept past, followed by a black shadow that lunged at him. Luckily, after his body was transformed, his senses and reflexes had also become much sharper. He quickly raised the hammer to block, only to realize it was just a black cat. Gao Ning could finally relax a little. So it was just a stray cat. He took out a leather mask to hide his identity, completely unaware that he was already being watched. Better keep my face hidden from here on out. Besides, getting my face clawed by a cat wouldn't be great. In the control room, a crystal-clear image of Gao Ning was displayed on the screen. His every move was being recorded. The large man in the control room watched the monitor and remarked, "That punk's got a death wish. Some guy died here a few days ago, and now another one shows up." The skinnier man sneered in response. "What can you do? These dogs are dirt poor. They all come here hoping to scavenge what's left. Guess they've got some guts." Huanya called the team on the ground and hurried them along. "Is the acting crew there? If you're still breathing, get to work." The person on the other end of the line asked, bewildered. Yeah, we're here. We got another one. Is it a guy or a girl?" He pursed his lips with a warning, then made an enticing promise. "A guy. Don't get any funny ideas. This isn't the time to mess around. He's about to reach the factory door now. Your job is to scare him off, you got it. Payday's today. Tonight, I'll take you guys out for a round." Hearing there was a treat in store, the man on the other end eagerly asked, "Brother Huanya, where are you taking us tonight?" Huanya answered vaguely, "To a new spot. Enough talk. Just get the job done. Let me know when you're finished. Me and Fatty are going to catch a quick nap. Tonight, I'm going to tear it up." The man on the other end, now much more excited, made a firm promise. "Don't you worry. This isn't our first rodeo. We're all seasoned pros at this." With that, they both hung up. Huanya casually tossed the walkie-talkie onto the table and said arrogantly, "Experience my ass. They're just a bunch of extras." But it seems they've got the routine down. The representative of the acting crew was already in costume, just waiting for the order to begin. After receiving the directive from his superior, he immediately relayed it to his brothers. "All right, guys, it's showtime." The crew's representative faced his colleagues and gave a pep talk, even if his choice of words was a bit off. "What is our dream? To be actors. So what if we've killed a few people? That's not important." After hypnotizing himself, he pulled the rest of the group in with him. "Our hearts are pure. We have a dream, even though we're just extras right now. We must still fulfill our duties as actors. Do you understand?" The whole group shouted in unison. "Yes, sir." That was all he was waiting for. He yelled excitedly, "Very good. What is our goal?" The actors threw their hands in the air in response, shouting their slogan together. "Scare the piss out of him. Scare the piss out of him." And so, as the acting department got into character, the special effects were activated one by one. It began with gusts of artificial wind. After hearing it a few times, Gao Ning started to doubt his own ears. It's not actually haunted, is it? Why am I hearing wind? Next came the thunder and lightning effects typical of a horror movie. The sound was incredibly realistic. And right after that, an actor playing a ghost appeared. However, the effect they created was incredibly low quality. You could see the wires plain as day. It looked so fake. He even wore a long-tongued demon mask to look scarier. But instead of being frightening, it was just laughable. Even so, because the attack was so sudden, Gao Ning couldn't help but jump. His eyes widened in surprise behind his mask. But Gao Ning's reaction that followed was even more shocking. He charged straight at the ghost, swinging his hammer as he ran. He looked 10 times scarier than the ghost itself. The actor, still lost in his role, didn't realize the danger approaching. And then he took a hammer straight to the head. This could be considered instant karma. With just one swing, Gao Ning shattered the mask, revealing the true face of the acting troupe's representative. He was knocked out cold on the spot. When he realized he had just hit a real person, Gao-ning only got angrier. His eyes narrowed into inverted triangles. He furiously complained, "What the hell are you doing playing Ghost? You scared the crap out of me." He wasn't done yet. He continued with a stream of insults, criticizing him without holding back, in broad daylight, trying to rob people while playing dress-up as a ghost. You got a death wish, huh? You're already ugly enough, and you still go around scaring people. Totally unforgivable. Gao-ning flipped over the sheet covering the actor's rep and began to search him. The system received a signal. A notification popped up along with a quick interview. "Congratulations, host, for defeating a ghost." However, the target did not yield any rewards. "How do you feel?" Gao-ning was still fuming about the system's skill trial. He swiped the screen away and grumbled irritably, "Screw you. If I had to rely on your crappy system to eat, I would have starved to death by now." After searching the actor's entire body, he managed to find a few gold coins. He counted the money while remarking to himself, "You can't rely on anyone for anything. Robbing people is the real way to make a buck." Seeing that the haul was pretty good, Gao-ning was overjoyed. He looked up to the sky and cheered. "I'm rich. This is at least 500 alliance coins." Immediately after, he reined in his excitement and began to seriously calculate the workload. 1 ghost is 500. 10 ghosts will be 5,000. The mission target is 100,000, so I have to beat 200 ghosts. Are there really that many ghosts here? Elsewhere in the acting troops area, a member asked worriedly, "Junzi? Junzi? This is Reaper. It's been a while, and there's been no sign of Long Tongue. What's going on?" The long-haired ghost replied lazily, "Who knows where he went off to slack? He's just scaring one kid. How can he be taking so long?" Then he heard a loud noise. A sense of unease began to creep into his heart. What was that sound? I'll go check it out. The long-haired ghost entered the room just as Gao-ning was calculating his workload. 1 ghost is 500. 10 ghosts will be 5,000. Are there really that many ghosts here? Standing in a dark corner, he still hadn't noticed his colleague's miserable state. The long-haired ghost stepped forward, clearly intending to scare Gao-ning. But the closer he got, the more he felt that something was wrong. The sound of high heels was too loud, and it alerted Gao-ning to his presence. The presence of the long-haired ghost. The long-haired ghost only saw the back of a masked teenager, completely unaware that the real Reaper was closing in. But when he turned his head, he was staring right at the face of a serial killer. The most terrifying part was the bulging, bloodshot eyes. The one who was supposed to be doing the scaring was now the one getting scared. He was terrified. He let out a scream, loud and piercing. The costume wig he was wearing flew right into the air. "Mommy." The long-haired ghost took off running for his life. But in the eyes of Gao-ning, he was just a walking bag of money. And just as he'd hoped, Gao-ning gave chase, a weapon in each hand. His eyes were gleaming. He yelled with glee, "Second one." The chase was on. The man ran like there was no tomorrow. But in the end, he couldn't escape his fate. From outside, all that could be heard was a loud thwack. The long-haired ghost had met his heroic end. Gao-ning expertly began looting the body. As he searched, he muttered happily to himself. At this rate, bagging 200 ghosts in one night might actually be possible. After collecting his loot, he picked up his tools again and remarked, "After breaking through my body's physical limit for the first time, dealing with these things is a real piece of cake." He had already used the previous 2 items. All that was left in his backpack was a shiny shovel. Thinking back on what he'd done, Gao-ning made an educated guess. This must be for burying the ghosts, huh? Then, he looked down at the long-haired ghost lying face down on the ground and realized that burying them one by one was a huge pain. However, digging a hole and burying him now would take way too much time. After a moment of deliberation, he made up his mind. I'll just get a few more and bury them all at once. No sooner had Gao-ning finished that thought than the other actors arrived. These ghosts are so considerate. Save me the trouble of having to look for them. One of the newcomers was a guy dressed as a clown. The other was dressed as a butcher. The clown was carrying a huge mallet. He roared, "Where did this psycho come from? How dare he crash our party?" The butcher added resentfully, "He's actually trying to steal our loot." The nerve of this guy, in Gao-ning's eyes. This group was nothing but more walking money bags. His eyes lit up. He whispered excitedly, "Money, it's all just walking right up to my door." seeing the joyous look on his face, like a man reuniting with a long-lost lover, and the two weapons in his hands. The ghosts' faces went pale in an instant. They probably thought they could team up on him, but they were still no match. The whole factory suddenly erupted into chaos. This kid is way too strong. Murder. Help us. Damn it. Seriously, where the hell did this maniac come from? A short while later, he had finished off the other two and was gloating. It's lonely at the top. He left the bodies where they lay and went off in search of more victims. He couldn't help but marvel. This is such easy money. I'm going to be rich. He walked a little further and came to another door. This one was already open, saving him the effort. Gao Nung wondered with anticipation. There were already 4 ghosts outside. There must be even more inside the workshop, right? His passion for ghost hunting blazing, he stepped into the pitch-dark workshop. He scanned the room. Inside, there were only a few stuffed animals and some scaffolding. Gao Nung paced around the room. He searched carefully, but found nothing. If things keep up like this, it's going to take forever to finish this mission. Gao Nung pouted and muttered. I've lapped this place a few times, and there's not a single one. You gotta be kidding me. I've only made 2,000 alliance credits so far. There should be at least 196 more ghosts jumping out at me here. But he couldn't give up that easily. After a moment's thought, he decided to change hunting grounds. There's no way I'm leaving this place empty-handed. If it's not in this workshop, then I'll just check the next one. Just then, a strange hand landed on his shoulder. The sudden touch sent a jolt through him. His eyes flew open in shock. On instinct, Gao Nung spun around, swinging his hammer. But his opponent's reflexes were incredibly fast, and they dodged just in time. To hide his identity, he slipped on the bloodstained mask, his senses on high alert. Before him stood a girl. She was wearing a patient's uniform from a mental hospital and had a constant, unnerving smile. She was clutching a teddy bear. She suddenly hugged the bear to her chest and began to sing. 10 little dwarves went for a cursed meal. One of them choked and died, with a grimy face and a bizarre smile. She ripped the teddy bear in half. She kept dancing and singing her tune. So senseless. Couldn't be saved. And then there were 9. Gao Nung wasn't the least bit fazed by this lunatic. He charged forward with his hammer and yelled, Quit your damn act. In front of my hammer, all you ghouls and ghosts are just paper tigers. But just like before, he couldn't land a single hit. The woman dodged it. Then, in the blink of an eye, she appeared behind Gao Nung and continued her song. 9 little dwarves stayed up too late one night. So very tired, they rolled over to sleep and died in the night. And then there were 8. Hearing the sound, he spun around and swung his hammer, but she dodged it again. The madwoman blended into the darkness, singing her song without end. Her voice echoed from all directions, making it impossible to pinpoint her location. 8 little dwarves, exploring a strange, forgotten place. One got left behind and went to heaven. And then there were 7. 7 little dwarves were chopping up a stick. One's hand did slip. An axe came down quick. And then there were 6. At this point, Gao Nung was no longer as confident as he'd been at the start. The hand holding his hammer began to tremble. This opponent's skill was on a completely different level from the ghost before. Gao Nung couldn't help but wonder, this ghost, there's something different about her. She paused, clapping her hands to the rhythm, humming her self-composed nursery rhyme in an eerie tone. 3 little dwarves met with disaster. A bear fell from the sky. And then there were 2. Listening to her, Gao Nung felt a chill run down his spine. His mind raced, on high alert. This isn't some ghost. She's a lunatic. What kind of messed up nursery rhyme is she singing? This countdown, it's terrifying. His hand instinctively tightened around the hammer. The more he thought, the more he realized how truly difficult this opponent was to handle. What's more, her movements are too fast. Even I, someone who's broken past his limits, can't keep up with her. Looks like there's only one way. And so, out of the 36 stratagems, he decided to use the handsome man ploy, just as she started to sing again. 2. With a whoosh, he threw aside his mask and hammer. At the same time, he called out, Time out. And then, instantly, he flashed a brilliant smile and spoke in the warm, gentle tone of a friendly older brother. Hey, little sis. Good kids don't sing scary songs like that. How about we play a different game? What do you say? Now committed to the game, Ewer decided to play along. Quick as a flash, she threw her hands in the air and cheered excitedly. I'll dance for you. Okay. Gao Nung replied. Casually, sure, you can dance. So what did you want to dance? But in his mind, he sneered. Only a complete lunatic would dance with her in the middle of the night. Get a little closer. I dare you. I'll smash your face in. You were a move closer to him, suggesting cheerfully, let's do a hand-clapping dance. You make a move, and I'll clap once. He tensed up completely, his scalp tightening. He forced himself to reply. A hand-clapping dance, then? As he spoke, his hand was already slipping into his pocket, searching for something. Seeing his plan unfold smoothly, Gao Neng thought with a stone-cold expression, this is my chance. She's let her guard down. Just one more step closer, and I can kill her. However, before he made his move, he was incredibly curious about who this master really was. So he took the chance to check her out. Before I do this, let's see just who this mysterious pretender really is. At that moment, Gao Ning's eyes transformed into a veritable scanner, examining her entire body. The skill was so advanced, it could discern every minute detail of a target without leaving a single trace.